Fan Rochester, our YouTube channel, streaming on Twitch at The Fan Rochester as well, and on your smart device. When you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan, I'm Mike Danger. That's Gene Battaglia.
I'm a little disappointed. I was so looking forward to it not working out for Bill Belichick in Dallas. So that news to me last night, okay, they're going to run it back. That poor fan base. I actually feel sorry for Cowboy fans.
We'll get to that and more. I mean, there's a lot of different storylines happening around the NFL, and we get one day closer as well to Bills and Chiefs on Sunday night, and we'll break down more of that later on this afternoon when Dan Fates from 13WM Sports and BuffaloPlus.com stops by the sports bar.
Yeah, so we'll talk to Dan about this matchup, and we'll get the latest here on the injuries. Saw some video today of Taron Johnson working out still in a red non-contact jersey, so at least that's good. And if he doesn't have any setbacks here over the next 48 hours, that's got to be a bit promising there. As you could say, that's certainly one position that you could see a downgrade going from Johnson to, say, a Cam Lewis. Corner 2 is a concern. Middle linebacker, what's going on there? We'll have the Bills conversation with Dan Fates coming up in the 4 o'clock hour.
And for the first time ever in the sports bar, to give us some winners for this weekend's action in the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, we welcome in BetQL's Kate Constable.
The host of The Better Angle, and you see your content all over the BetQL network. So these 4 matchups, fun prop bets, we can talk about that. You might be all in on the Bills and Chiefs Sunday night and focused on that, but why not have a little fun on Saturday? You got 2 great matchups on Saturday, so we'll get Kate's thoughts on how to play all these games.
We'll take your calls throughout the course of the afternoon. You're welcome to join us anytime. Pull up a stool on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326. Also on Elon's Twitter. That's X, at The Fan Rochester. And we should take this moment right off the top to let you know that tomorrow at this time, we will be live from Three Heads Brewing on Atlantic Avenue. Friday Football Talk Live. I mentioned Good Smoke Barbecue. They'll be dishing out the free barbecue there at Three Heads as well.
Yeah, barbecue, football talk, Nighthawks stopping by. What more could you ask for? So when we look back at this season, if this ends up being the season we've all dreamt of, well, you got to enjoy the stops along the way here on this jersey and this journey. And this would be one of those stops here. And we invite you out to Three Heads. Have a little fun with us coming up on Friday, 3 to 6. Danger, I'll be hanging out a little after. I'm getting some RSVPs, so this will be a good turnout.
You're getting some RSVPs?
Yep.
I'm getting some RSVPs, pal. Have I talked about the guys in my neighborhood before? Have I ever mentioned the guys in my neighborhood? Stop me if you've heard, but there's Tony, there's Doug, there's Nikki G, there's Cuse, there's Tony, there's Joey Dryer Sheets, there's Tom, there's Mike, there's Timmy Parmesan, there's Tony, there's Richie C, there's Nikki Eye Drops, there's Tony, there's Rob, there's Frank, there's Tony, there's Nikki Signs, there's Sammy the Bull, and I know I'm forgetting somebody.
Tony Gazzetta.
Tony.
You haven't met Tony. I love the guy you called Dryer Sheets because he bailed on poker night because his wife wanted him to go buy a dryer sheet.
Yeah, Joey Dryer Sheets. Moving forward, you will be Joey Dryer Sheets.
Nikki Signs because has the signs in the front yard.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, those are the guys in my neighborhood, and they're plotting and scheming their entrance to Three Heads tomorrow as well. Always appreciate that support and appreciate all of our regulars who are going to stop by. We can count on a handful of you to swing by Three Heads and be a part of the action, be a part of the show. We appreciate that, and we'll be dishing out some free barbecue from our friends from Good Smoke and, of course, some fine beers from our friends from Three Heads Brewing there on Atlantic Avenue. That's tomorrow from 3 to 6, Friday Football Talk Live, the playoff edition. And we should keep in mind also that the Bills are undefeated. Weekends where we do a Friday Football Talk Live, we're going to keep that streak intact with our show tomorrow night. So there you go. The table is set here in the sports bar. Gino, you said the same thing to me that the Dandalorian said the same thing to me. I walk in the studio today for the second day in a row. I've got my Blackhawks gear on, and Dan's like, I'd leave at 5 if I were you. Well, thanks, Dan. You want to come back here and work from 5 to 6? You want to produce the show for Gino for the final? No. Okay, well then I guess I'll be handling the elements and heading to Buffalo to see the Blackhawks take on the Sabres tonight.
Dude, you're gonna get there beginning of the second period, maybe? If
I'm gonna book out of here right at 6 o'clock. My wife is dropping off my daughter, save a little time, jump right on 490, get on that throughway. I know it's going to get a little dicey there'll be some stretches there where it's like, oh, where did all this snow come from? But I'm saying best case scenario, probably in our seats by middle of the first period. Worst case scenario, we miss the entirety of the first period.
Worst case scenario, you miss the entirety of the game.
That would be bad.
That would be bad. Yeah. The thing I got to caution you is that we've been so focused on what's going down in Orchard Park. And I heard this from a client, Todd Fritz, not to be confused with the radio producer, but the guy who does the roofing. The parking downtown Buffalo is just as bad as anywhere. Like where I park for the Sabres, usually under the expressway on the 190. Why? Because, well, when you get out, you're out of there real quick. Well, that's all under. So a lot of these other lots are not cleared. So you're going to have to find a good spot.
I've got the parking pass for the garage. So hopefully the garage isn't in too bad a shape. I can get in and getting out is a little bit problematic. It always feels like I get caught up in stuff. But
that's why the garage is good, but getting out of there for the garage, it's a nightmare.
Getting out of the garage is slow. But I do like the idea of being close to the arena, not really having to schlep across downtown Buffalo to get to the arena.
You could leave your coat in the car if you wanted to.
Yes, if you really wanted to, I could do that. Yeah, for sure. So that's the game plan for tonight. It was the game plan for last night, but of course that got postponed. And we'll see the line combinations that Granato is trotting out there tonight. Is different Cousins out, Samuelson out. It's almost as if they looked at the opponent and said, you know what, let's try some different stuff tonight, and maybe we'll mix it up a little bit. I don't know. We'll see if it works for the Sabres. It worked. Everything was working for the Amerks last night. Comrie, a brick wall. 6-0 over Lehigh Valley.
Yeah, Byro scores 91 seconds into the game. Nice little quick work. And I looked we haven't talked much about the Amerks standings. They are 6 points out of second, 4 points out of last. Yeah. This, I guess, is kind of, you're in fourth place, and fourth is okay, but I'd rather have them in the top three so you avoid that kind of play-in round there. Mm-hmm. Last year, the Amerks, 2 years ago, they were in that spot and it worked out, but last year they didn't have to do that. So I think it is time you start looking at the standings for the Rochester Americans.
Yeah, it's tight like it normally is in the North Division, and the Amerks going to have to fight and claw. Big win last night. And now we look ahead to Friday as they take the show on the road to Utica before a home game on Saturday night. All right, we'll get to Bills Chiefs here throughout the course of the afternoon, but you mentioned it right off the top, man. I personally was like you, Gino, hoping that the Cowboys could achieve the same mediocre results with a guy that many consider to be the best head coach of all time. I was kind of hoping they would move on from McCarthy selfishly to bring in Belichick, just so Belichick could do the same thing in Dallas that every other coach has done in Dallas, which is achieve mediocre results.
Yeah, I heard Rome today, like, why aren't Cowboy fans more upset? I'm like, well, maybe that's Rome's circle. I have seen Cowboy fans are like, what are we doing? But this is your owner. He has not changed. He will not change. He's 81. He's not going to change all of a sudden. What is he not going to change? I am in charge. I am the man. Yeah. Look at his history for head coaches. Like, he kept Garrett. Go back to Wade Phillips. Wade Phillips was way beyond his expiration date. So keeping Phillips too long, keeping Garrett too long. Why do you think anything would be different with Mike McCarthy? Because Mike McCarthy, Jerry's looking at this a different way. I guarantee it. Fans or football writers, observers, all of us are saying, wait a second. You're not going to get to where you want. Jerry looks at it from this way. We had an exciting offense, and look at my bottom line. It's been really, really good. Why would I want to mess with this? I'll give you another shot. And if you bring in a Belichick danger, to the other point, to my original rant, you're going to Belichick is the guy in charge. Belichick is the guy who's going to be making the picks at GM. Jerry is still the GM of this team.
It's funny. AT&T Stadium is a palace. It's beautiful. It's state of the art. It's top of class, right? And it's got all this amazing artwork hanging in there. Not a single mirror. Why isn't there a mirror? Because Jerry can't look in a mirror. He can't look in a mirror and recognize that he is actually the issue with that team. But in his world, there is no issue because, as you said, we're doing just fine. We're making plenty of money. People are still interested in this team. you can hold on to Mike McCarthy. And it's funny, what you said about Mike McCarthy, I said earlier this season about Sean McDermott. You know what you're going to get with Mike McCarthy. This is the same Mike McCarthy that was in Green Bay. It was a coach that could get his team to the postseason almost every year with regularity. And at some point in the postseason, you flame out spectacularly. You got the one Super Bowl. That was nice if you're a Packer fan. But, what was the narrative when McCarthy was leaving Green Bay? All those wasted years with Aaron Rodgers in his prime. You couldn't get more out of Aaron Rodgers? Why didn't you get more Super Bowls out of Aaron Rodgers? You could be saying the same thing about him in Dallas when it's all said and done. You're not going to get to the Super Bowl. You're not going to get to where you want to be. And ultimately, that's what we should be thinking about, right? And I wonder what our conversations are like on Monday if the Bills fall on their face. I know a lot of people will say injuries, the defense was too banged up. What do you expect going up against Kansas City with a banged up defense? I already hear us making excuses. But ultimately, on Monday, if the Bills fall on their face, I'll be asking the question, is this as far as this coach can take this team? And I think it's a fair question to ask. It's one thing to say, yeah, we're in the postseason every year and we win the division, and that's great. And you could say, if you're satisfied with that, that's awesome. Like we should take that over what we had during the drought, right? Like we should be satisfied with that over what we had for years and years and years, where the team was just mediocre, irrelevant, nobody cared. But that's not the ultimate goal, unless they're lying to us, unless everybody in the NFL is lying to us when they say their goal is to win the Super Bowl. Everybody says, we want to win the Super Bowl. We're here to win championships. That's the ultimate goal. Is it? If you're Mike McCarthy, is that the ultimate goal? Because you kind of have demonstrated through the course of your career that you can take a team so far, and that will be that. Everything else, maybe it does just simply come down to luck. Maybe it does come down to luck.
That's it. When Tim Graham, we asked him that question, what is it going to take for the Buffalo Bills to get beyond this point? And ta-da, here we are. All these months of talking when the Bills get back to this point and going back to the Bengals playoff loss. And here we are. And we are days away now from this matchup. And I think there's one thing I can say for certain. It's this. The game is going to be much closer than that Steeler one. Yes, I know the Steelers kind of hung around, and credit to the Steelers. That's who they are. They're well coached. They fight. But I'm talking about a game where the Bills could be trailing, where it's going to be a one-score game. Here we are again. And my fear is danger that, the same as you, is that it's going to be a game where McDermott gets outcoached. If it's a game where the Chiefs have all the success on offense and the defense doesn't show up, the excuse is built in. You're down to linebackers 5 and 6. Dorian Williams, where he was nice during training camp, does not belong on a field. I'm sorry, but he was out there. A.J. Klein wasn't even in the league 10 days ago. He was on his couch, and you had to onboard him. You're hoping you can get some better players this week that are healthy, but ultimately you can win games in different fashions. And you look at the offense and how they went to this radical change of firing their coordinator. And it's been good. It was very nice against the Steelers. You're going to need that again. If the offense takes a step back, if Josh makes a couple dumb Josh plays, you got away with it in Miami, you're not going to get away with it from here on out. That's going to be the problem. So will these issues, A, McDermott, B, Josh Allen making mistakes, will they crop up at the worst time? Because we're just going to throw our hands up in the air and say, like, what more could you ask for? Because this is winnable. This is winnable.
It's true. And I don't hear a lot of fans, the interactions I've had with Bills fans this week, they're very reserved, very muted. There's not a lot of confidence. I think as Bills fans, you've been beaten so many times that you're afraid to have high expectations. You're afraid to go into this game saying, it's a home game. This is what we wanted. We wanted to host Kansas City. We wanted to host Patrick Mahomes on our turf, on our terms, with everything to play for. Why aren't we more confident about that? It's because of how they've lost some of these games. It's because of the heartbreak of years gone by. We're just a beaten down franchise, a beaten down fan base, I should say, that has seen this story and lived this movie so many times over and have never gotten it to where we want it. Now, if they win, what does the world look like on Monday?
They're Super Bowl champs.
Right.
This is finally the step. And the analogy I draw is, hey, Red Sox fans, does this sound familiar? Like, you could never get over on the Yankees. It was always bad things around the corner. And then one day it changed. And it took an extraordinary circumstance, but it changed. So that's why, Danger, it's like, yeah, this is exactly what you wanted, having Kansas City come here in the divisional round. And I'd also say this. They get by. I think Kansas City is a tougher opponent for Buffalo than Baltimore. Or Houston. Look, that's still going to be a tough game, but you could see Bills fans saying, oh my gosh, this is actually going to be the year. Should Bills fans be scared going to Baltimore if you get by Kansas City? No. Will Houston be a tough opponent? Yeah, but that's going to be up here.
Yeah.
Also, let me throw this into it. What if Houston wins? Does that put more pressure on Buffalo?
Let me tell you, regardless of who wins that game on Saturday, all of the pressure is on Buffalo. If I'm nervous about one thing, I'm actually more nervous about that than I am about the injuries. The idea that there's so much pressure on the Bills. The Chiefs have already proven they can win a Super Bowl. He hasn't proven that he can win a game in the postseason on the road because he's never had to do it. But he's been through that. He's been through these big moments before. Josh Allen's been in some big games, but they haven't gotten over. And if you don't get over, it just adds to the storyline of the Bills being the Bills, right? And so because it's a home game, because this is what we've wanted, because we know Josh Allen is prone to making mistakes in the course of the game, and because we know Sean McDermott has been out-coached in some of his games, all the pressure's on Buffalo. All the pressure is on the Bills.
Well, this is how, look, and you know who brought this up, ironically? It was Binkley yesterday. Like, before the Chiefs were the Chiefs, they had to kind of get past New England. New England with Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And they did. And I look at the NBA. Like, well, the Celtics were the Kings, and the Pistons could never get by. And then they did. And they won 2 championships. And then the Bulls and the Pistons, and then finally Chicago on the road did it. And then once they did it, bam, they took out the Lakers in 4 games. So that's why if you get by this point, and I understand the Bills have been to the AFC Championship, but they haven't gotten by this point, meaning Kansas City. This is narrative street, folks. You don't want it another way. Would the Red Sox championship have felt less had they beaten the Rays and the Twins and yeah, you're damn right it would have. It's special because you knocked those guys off. Finally. After your dad and his dad, I mean, like, this is a generational thing, Danger. And the Chiefs are the team right now in this generation that are standing in the path. So for anybody that goes to the game, you got to be loud. I don't care if somebody behind you tells you to pipe down. You yell your head off. You come out to 3 Heads on Friday, you get fired up for this. Yeah. It's a whole weekend of getting fired up.
That's right. Again, 3 Heads tomorrow, 3 o'clock. Friday Football Talk Live. Gino and I will be live. We'll have that free barbecue from our friends at Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub. Of course, unbelievable beer from 3 Heads. And Gino and I doing the show live from 3 to 6. We'll have Joe Marino on the show with us tomorrow from the Locked On Bills podcast. We'll have Alex Gold from our Odyssey Sports sister station, 610 Sports in Kansas City, joining us in the 4 o'clock hour, and we'll have some Rochester Nighthawks. Taylor Jensen is going to be stopping by tomorrow afternoon as well. Talk some Nighthawks. They got that Nighthawks hazy IPA.
Yeah. Yeah, you're already thinking about
Give
that.
Give me a hazy IPA. I'll take it.
Whoever the real sports diva is, she's listening. Question, what are your thoughts on the officiating crew assigned this weekend? All right, it's Hockley. Anytime I hear the word Hockley, I'm like, ugh. Can I just say this? I don't have any confidence in any official. To me, it's like they're all so gun shy or whatever.
Difference doesn't make it doesn't make any difference at all. To be honest with you, it doesn't make any difference at all to me. Now, if you know who the officiating crew is, if you're Sean McDermott, you're studying the tendencies. You're looking at what their crew tendencies are. Does this crew call a lot of holding? Does this crew call a lot of DPI? What are their tendencies? What can you get away with? What can you not get away with? How tight do they call their games? Because all of that is trackable, and you have to have somebody in your staff. You have to have a consigliere on your staff that's advising you.
Well, the Googles tell me this. Sean Hockley's crew called the fewest defensive pass interference penalties, and were tied for the fewest illegal contact penalties in 2023. Grab and clutch Rice. Mug Kelsey.
Good news.
That's
good news. If you're Kyer Elam, it's great news if you happen to get on the field. For as handsy as he is,
gosh.
that would be great news.
We asked this question to Binkley yesterday. Has Mahomes ever gone after a corner specifically? And his answer was no. I'm like, oh boy, if it's going to be Elam. And yes, Elam had the interception, but that was one of those, he turned around, oh, the ball's right here. Just a bad throw.
We've got other headlines from around the NFL here, things happening in the head coaching carousel that's happening. We've got some news out of Pittsburgh. Dan Quinn took an interview last night. We can tell you about that. More about Bill Belichick and where he's reportedly set to land, which still seems a little bit baffling to me. I think we take a break here, come back. We'll get to some of those headlines. We'll also share some takes. And you want to talk about fans being at the stadium, being loud. I've got a take on what we should all do on Sunday to set a tone if you're not going to the stadium. I'll explain.
Well, okay, not going to. I thought you were going to stay and bring a shovel.
Well, I think you might need to, come equipped if they'll let you in. So we'll get to that and more next. And again, your phone calls welcome as always. Pull up a stool here in the sports bar. That number is 585-866-4FAN. 866-4326.
You're listening to
Rescheduled game tonight for the Buffalo Sabres. It's game 5 of the 6-game homestand. Chicago, the opponent. Our coverage begins at 7 tonight here on the Fan. Rochester. No travel ban today in Buffalo, which meant a full practice for the Bills. Taron Johnson working out in the red non-contact jersey. On the other side of the ball, offensive coordinator Joe Brady getting ready for the challenge going up against Chiefs defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo.
He's been at the top for a while, right? And he does such a great job of combining scheme with the skill set that he has, right? He doesn't just run these plays just because this is the defense I've been running for years. He does such a good job of putting his players in position to have success.
2 p.m. our coverage Sunday begins here on the Fan. Amerks beating up Lehigh Valley 6-0 was the final. A team playing at Utica tomorrow night. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, the Fan, Rochester.
Pull up a stool and join us. 585-866-4FAN. 866-432-6. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
He's like the elite backs that we see. I mean, we saw 2 pretty good ones last week. And this is just another guy that presents similar challenges. Very physical, very downhill type runner. Great contact balance. He'll break tackles. The best thing about this young man is he protects the football. We talk about taking the football away. He's done an outstanding job of protecting the football. So we can't be overzealous in trying to get the ball away from him and end up missing tackles. And so just another challenge for us, and one that we'll be prepared to meet.
That's Bills defensive line coach Eric Washington on Chiefs running back Isaiah Pacheco, going to present a challenge for the Bills come Sunday night at Highmark Stadium, a game you'll be able to hear on the Fan Rochester. Our pregame coverage on Sunday afternoon, right around, 2 o'clock, I would imagine, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Some news and notes from around the NFL here as Kate Constable from the BetQL Network will be joining us here in about a half an hour or so. We'll get her winners for this weekend's action in the divisional round. Bill Belichick. Now, depending on who you believe, this is almost like a done deal in Atlanta. And all of it feels wrong. It doesn't feel, it feels bizarre. And to what you were saying about Belichick earlier, Gene, if Belichick were to end up in Dallas, that would have been a tough thing for Belichick because Jerry is calling the shots and Belichick wants to call the shots. I don't know that it's that different in Atlanta. I mean, Arthur Blank may appear to be a distant owner. I think he's meddlesome, and I think he's got McKay, basically doing his bidding for him. But these are all guys that are involved in decision-making that Bill Belichick, quite honestly, probably doesn't want to have involved in the decision-making of whatever team he decides he wants to coach.
So, you ever hear the Ben Franklin close? Ben Franklin, when he would make an important decision way back when, would list the pros and cons. And so if you're doing this like Ben Franklin would do, all right, what are the pros of this? All right, well, you're going to get paid.
Yeah.
You've got some fun young pieces, but cons, no quarterback. But then I think on the pro side, which could weigh it all out, that division isn't going to get better overnight. That division is going to provide Bill Belichick wins. That division can get him to be the all-time leader. I think that is Bill Belichick's real goal. Winning a Super Bowl, that would be fans or whatever, and is there really any pressure in Atlanta for anything other than college football? That is like the one of the few places where college football is king and the NFL takes second fiddle. I don't think Bill Belichick changes that, so he can go in there, win some games. There's low expectations, get paid, get his record right off into the sunset.
Fly under the radar while winning NFC South titles because it is a soft division, right? Belichick immediately becomes the best head coach in that division.
Look at the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Carolina is a disaster. That's not going to improve. You can't tell me. Baker Mayfield. Okay, it's been kind of fun. Oh, by the way, he's a free agent, so you're going to have to make a decision on that. And Carr in New Orleans, the Saints have been kind of coasting too. So I think that what Belichick could do is go in there and find his guys and make that defense a little that's always been kind of the thing with Atlanta. Oh, and also you can get a quarterback. And now, what would he do at quarterback? Would you go out and bring in a Kirk Cousins? Would you there are some different options that they could do. That's been the one thing why we can't take the Falcons seriously until they find the guy.
So, according to Josina Anderson, this is all but a done deal. Second interview, and he's reportedly set to be there.
Second interview? Who's interview? I heard you and Ryan. Like, what is the interview process?
He walks in. Go ahead. I'll play Belichick. You play Arthur Blank. This is the second interview.
Okay, second interview. Well, Bill, welcome back. I'm so glad that you came back there from where was it?
Cut. I did you a disservice. We should reverse roles here. You should play the role of Bill Belichick, and I'll play the role of Arthur Blank.
Okay.
Your Belichick is a lot stronger than mine, but I think you know what the answer is here, Gino.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, and action. Bill, man, we had such a great, albeit brief, conversation for our first interview. We wanted to have you come in for a second interview because we really have an interest in bringing you in here to Atlanta to be our next head coach. Tell us, Bill, what can you do to turn around the Atlanta Falcons?
I have a tape. 2017. Do you remember that year?
2017. Yeah, I'm trying to forget, but yeah.
28-3.
And scene. That's the interview. Goodbye. All right, fine. We sign on this line and we'll be good.
I think it's like in reverse, right? Belichick would be interviewing them.
Right.
He want to know the systems. He want to know who he can hire, what's his budget, all that sort of stuff.
Shortest interview ever. Hey, Bill, what's 28-3? Okay, you're right. You got us. Very good. That's it. Done. That's going to feel weird for Falcon fans. That's the guy that ripped your heart out, or was partially responsible for ripping your heart out.
You know, it feels weird if Belichick ends up there, but when Brady made the decision to go to Tampa, you know, the world was hell in a handbasket at that point. That was weird too. Like I'm like, I can't picture him in Buck gear.
Yeah,
Get out of here.
It'll all work out. But do you remember where you were when Tom Brady decided to go to Tampa?
It was like
memorable.
It was like 9/11.
Yeah.
It was like JFK being shot. It was like
totally remember.
Can I stop you right there?
So Belichick getting the second interview in Atlanta. A couple of other names out there in the mix, still in the head coaching carousel. Vrabel took a meeting with the Chargers. He's also received interest from the Falcons and Seahawks. So the Falcons casting a wide net. We already know that they spoke with Belichick, Harbaugh, also Vrabel. They've talked to all the best candidates. And this is what's frustrating if you're a fan of a team like I am of the Bears, where they've decided, or the Cowboys, or any team, even the Steelers. You've got your coach. You know who your coach is going to be next year, but you can't say with certainty that your coach is better than any of the guys that are out there, like a Vrabel, like a Pete Carroll, like a Harbaugh, or a Belichick. No, we'll be totally fine with Matt Eberflus. No, we're okay. Mike Tomlin, in a better mood today, speaking with reporters and kind of letting everybody know that it sure sounds like Kenny Pickett is going to remain QB1 heading into next year, but that there will be a little bit of competition for Kenny Pickett next year at camp. We'll see what that all looks like, but the coaching carousel continues with Vrabel now meeting with the Chargers, getting interest from the Falcons and Seahawks. Also, Dan Quinn interviewing with the Tennessee Titans last night. I'm telling you, after how that defense looked against Green Bay, scratch Dan Quinn from my list of candidates. Not interested. So how many blown coverages can you have in one game? My God.
Yeah, he took the video interview with Carolina, did get Dan Quinn. That's where he might end up with at this point. We got some breaking news here in the Sports Bar, Mike Danger.
Right, breaking news. Here we go.
It really hit me. I didn't know it was coming back that far.
At what point does that burn out on us?
Never.
At some point, it's got to, right?
Until you come up with something better. I mean, maybe we could use the guy screaming in terror that we had from the junior hockey league in Canada. But no, I still like Sterling. For breaking news, Sterling getting broken is pretty good.
Yeah. Appreciate our guy there, John or Jack, whatever your name is, Jack, with the suggestion there. Just kidding, Jack.
It's not his real name.
Not your real name.
It's not a real name at all. 5
players did not practice today due to injury. You want to take a guess?
Okay.
We have Christian Benford, Terrell Bernard, Gabe Davis, Taylor Rapp, Balin Spector.
Okay.
which means a lot of A.J. Klein. Now limited, Terrell Dodson. That's the shoulder injury. That's good news. Rasul Douglas also limited. That's really good news. And again, he's been telling everybody he's ready to go. Taron Johnson, as we mentioned, he's going through the protocol working out. So the way that works is you have to have a certain number of hours in order to not have any symptoms after exercise. So it's looking okay for now. Sam Martin limited today too, which... all right, with the hamstring pull, maybe that's a good thing. To me, that's the least of my concerns in this game. Concern being, all right, Benford. I was hoping that we get more clarity on that today. We did not. So, and then also Balen Spector, when he was in there, wasn't bad. And so the fact that he's not out there, how will we feel about another game if indeed Dotson doesn't go? There's your excuse for the Buffalo Bills. Your linebackers in this game are going to be very, very
the defense is depleted, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the excuse is already built in if Kansas City comes into Buffalo and drops 35 points on you and you're not able to keep up. Well, the defense, I mean, you don't have anybody left.
I would say too.
Except for, that defensive line that you've invested so much in, they're healthy.
Well, can your safeties for one game have the game of their life, Poyer and Hyde? Because guys, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking
this is the last dance.
Last game in Buffalo, too.
Could be.
Like, we'll know this going in. All right, so who will this be the last game for in Buffalo? Poyer and Hyde right at the top of the list. Mm-hmm. So can they show up?
Well, we have some time here, Gino, and before we get to Kate Constable from the BetQL Network, how about some takes here in the sports bar?
Yeah, I love takes. And one of them, because you're looking ahead here. We really haven't talked all that much for good reason. We're in the middle of the playoffs, but there are other fan bases right now, Danger. Full-on draft talk.
Yeah.
Full-on free agency.
When's Senior Bowl? Is that this weekend, next weekend?
No, that is the weekend between the AFC, NFC, and the Super Bowl.
Okay.
So
Senior Bowl is right around the corner, though.
Yeah, so Senior Bowl is always kind of like, for the last few years, that's when we start to pay attention. And free agency, too. And if you thought the running back market was soft and slow this past offseason, I got news for you. Oh, boy. Listen to this list. Again, and these are some names that were on the list last year, but because they only signed the one-year deals, Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, Austin Eckler, Derrick Henry. We knew that. Pollard again. DeAndre Swift, Zeke, Gus Edwards, Devin Singletary, Zach Moss. The majority here will be moaning about not getting paid, and maybe they'll all band together. You know what? It's not going to make any difference. Let me point this out. Chances are, Danger, all these guys played defense back in high school. And I'm just sending this as a message to anybody in Section 5 or anybody that has a dream someday, because that's the way it works in high school. You play both sides of the ball. You want to have fun. You want to be the big man on campus. You want to score touchdowns and become a running back. If you want to get paid, you want to have a career where you do get the second contract, well, choose safety or corner or learn to become a wide receiver. I'm sorry. I'm done with running backs getting paid in this league, because where did that get the Giants this year? Where did it get the Raiders? I find it funny that the Ravens, of all people, like Dalvin Cook wants to get paid by Miami. He wants to get paid by Buffalo. Oh, you got paid by this. I don't like it here. Now you're working for minimum wage down in Baltimore. Mm-hmm. Baltimore's actually, they've got the template here. Just make sure you're fortifying the offensive line, and then just plug and play. And you can get a guy named Gus Edwards or scrap heap Dalvin Cook. And for the Buffalo Bills, sure, you can see Devin Singletary run all over the place, hopefully for the Houston Texans this weekend. Doesn't mean that they made the wrong decision. Don't invest in the running back.
I'm with you. And of all the free agents, I'm just looking at the list right now. There is one name that pops off just because he's still young and he's got less tread on his tires because of how they've used him. And we'll see him on Sunday. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Oh my gosh, he's already at that point.
When he becomes a free agent, that's a name that I would be interested in. The other guys are, I guess you could convince me that DeAndre Swift has some value, because that's another one that I think.
Where was he the last part of it? You were behind that Philadelphia offensive line. They make Boston Scott look good.
He's also a free agent as well.
Yeah.
World's worst sports talk caller.
Hey, it's Boston Scott. I'm just tired of what Cora's doing here.
Edwards-Helaire, not even 25 years old. And I don't know what he did to fall out of favor with Andy Reid or Patrick Mahomes, or if they just fell in love with Pacheco and just felt like Pacheco was a better back. Maybe he is.
Pacheco, like, of all the concerns this week, some would say Kelsey, sure, Rice. It's Pacheco.
I'm trying to remember what round Pacheco was drafted in. I mean, Edwards-Helaire was a first-round draft pick, and he fell out of favor. I'm not really sure what that was or what happened. And maybe that's a question for Jay Binkley down the road.
Pacheco was a 7th rounder.
So again, the idea that you can find undrafted running backs that behind a good offensive line can make hay. So much of it is attitude, so much of it is confidence, so much of it is the offensive line, man. And you're right, investing in Saquon, investing in Josh Jacobs, investing in Austin Eckler, it's just not the move. It's not the play. But I do like some CEH as he becomes a free agent, being that he's still young and hasn't gotten a ton of usage.
But he's going to be stuck though, because he's going to want to get paid. Well, he can go sign anywhere, easy small money, but that's the whole market's going to be kind of. And if I'm Buffalo, I'd rather spend the 7th round pick.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
I'm not necessarily saying that I would want Clyde Edwards-Helaire in Buffalo. I'm just saying that's an intriguing name because he's still young, and I think there's still something there. Just like Devin Singletary was intriguing last offseason. Like, where is he going to go? Oh, he's going to Houston. And we didn't hear anything about Devin Singletary until the last third of the season when he's just stockpiling yards and becoming one of the most effective running backs in the game down the stretch. And Singletary had himself a nice season in Houston. I don't know if that means he gets extended in Houston, but, again, you don't have to overcommit to that position and overinvest in that position. You can find guys. I mentioned this earlier. Some of you will be at Highmark Stadium on Sunday night. Many of you will only be watching the game from the comfort of your homes. Listen, this is a big game. There's a lot of pressure on these guys. And we, as a fan base, we need to band together, become one unit as a fan base. If you're Bills Mafia, but you aren't at the game, let's add a little bit of grit to your experience on Sunday night. Here's what I'm calling for, Gino. Open all the doors and windows in your home while the game is on so we can all experience the January climate together. I'm fully on board with this play. You don't want some fan that you run into down the road one-upping you by reminding everyone how cold and miserable they were on a January afternoon in Orchard Park. Yeah, well, you know what? I turned off the thermostat and it got down to 31 degrees in my basement. I feel like this sets a tone for Sunday.
All right, couple things. Do you have thermostat wars in your house? Because we have them in our house. Shocking. I like it a little colder, and the executive producer always gets a little pissy with me whenever, it's not to her liking. So, she doesn't like to be hungry, cold, or tired. So that's,
What do we say in the sports bar?
Yeah,
marriage is a continuous negotiation.
So I hear what you're saying, but that's not a battle I want to.
This isn't one you want to fight, man.
No,
this isn't a battle. It's not worth fighting for. No. We can handle it. We have grit. If it's cold in the house and they want to jack up the temperature a couple of degrees, fine. It's the opposite of my house, by the way. She's always cold, but she doesn't do anything about it. She's always cold, but she's not going to turn the thermostat above. Where are we at night? 64? 66? We might be 64 at night.
Oh. See, I always like 64. I would love it if it was like 59, but it's not going to be. Oh, yeah. You get a good night's sleep. No, that never happened.
In the wintertime, that's brutal. In the summertime, yes, I'm all for it. Dip it as low as you can in the summertime. But it's a war I don't want to fight anymore. If you believe you're the climatologist of our house and you think that this is the proper temperature, where I can see my breath as I'm cooking dinner, yeah, okay.
Yeah, cool. So that's I hear what you're saying. Doesn't work in our house. Thought number 2, and probably shouldn't admit this on the air. My ride from hell back from Utica I was talking about yesterday, the one where I was met the world's meanest Chick-fil-A employee, or I shouldn't say mean, just disinterested, like the saddest place on earth.
This is the journey where you lost your dignity.
Yeah, like here I am at a throughway rest stop at 10:45 on a Tuesday night in the middle of January,
just kind
all
of
by myself,
reevaluating all your life choices, all the choices that led you to a rest stop on the throughway at a Chick-fil-A at 10:30 at night on the way home from Utica.
Yeah, it's not all fun and games, kids, in this business. So. Well, on this ride home, not only am I hungry, I'm tired. So for the majority of this ride, and again, I'm just admitting things I probably shouldn't. I'm tired and I have to roll down all the windows, so I'm alert there.
Yeah.
And when it's 10 degrees outside, not very comfortable, but it keeps you awake.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? Again, looking for a little bit of grit. I think if you're not going to the game, we already know you're a hardy soul if you're going to the game. If you went to the game against Pittsburgh, we know you're a hardy soul. You fought those elements. You trudged to get to your seat. You threw snow and up in the air when the Bills scored and when they won. And it was an experience. It was you're a hardy soul. But for those of us that aren't going to the game, that are going to watch from the comfort, let's add a little grit to the program here, okay? Let's go through a little bit more of what the fan base is going through, what the players are going through. I'm calling for open doors, open windows, turn the thermostat off.
What about this? So
start at 9 a.m. too, by the way.
What if you did your like little tailgate action at home, but you have to have the proper grill. Your gas grill isn't getting. Say you have the charcoal grill and you're going to fire it up outside because if you weren't familiar, those coals will, they'll be nice and what if you were outside prior to the game, tailgating as if you were at the game, and you've got the charcoal, you're having your cold ones outside.
I was just assuming that's a given. That should be a given. That should be a given. You should have some sort of fire going around the proximity of your property, and you should be out there with cold ones, some kind of meat on the grill, smoking for a long time, whatever your method is. Just yes, that's a given. I accept that as a given. But I'm saying, like, starting at 9 a.m. when you would normally start your Sunday tailgate, you go ahead, crack open all the windows, open up all the doors, shut down the thermostat. Let's add some grit. Let's get some blankets out. Let's bundle up a little bit. Let's make it an experience.
I love the other angle of this with Belichick leaving, he's not ending up in Dallas. Maybe it ends up in Atlanta. But did you kind of catch a glimpse of that presser yesterday for Gerard Mayo? Not to be confused with Jared Mayo, as I once called him.
Mr. Mayo.
Oh, and then I got confused and I just called him Mr. Mayo.
No, Mr. Mayo is a 22-year-old rookie.
And normally, I'm calling a 22-year-old rookie Mr. Mayo. Recapping that story, I'm asking him to come on a radio show, and I'm at the stadium. This is when he was a rookie. And Jared, would you be willing? Yes. But my name is Gerard. I'm like, oh. And while he's doing the interview, I have to thank him afterward. Now my mind is playing tricks on me. Is it Jared? Is it Gerard? What is it? And this is before, you could actually kind of Google something right away. So I'm like, okay, what do I call him after? Say play. Thank you, Mr. Mayo.
22-year-old rookie.
Mr. Mayo.
You're a grown-ass man. Calling a 22-year-old rookie Mr. Mayo. Because you didn't want to get his name wrong again.
Yep. So Mr. Mayo. Look, Mr. Mayo was doing his opening presser with Daddy next to him. Robert Kraft the whole time. Yeah. I mean, where else does that happen? Maybe Dallas?
Well, you know what? I feel like Buffalo is the outlier. That Pegula is so in the shadows. He just doesn't want any of that. But I have a feeling that if there was a change, that when there was a change, Pegula was out there, right? When they brought in McDermott and Bean.
He was out there, but he wasn't side by side. I know it didn't happen with Sirianni. I know it didn't happen with Daboll. The number of places where you see the introductory press conference. Remember Dan Campbell? He's up at the podium by himself for that famous press conference. Yeah. So just something that I kind of noticed. And then I saw this take by the great Maggie Gray. Gerard Mayo. Now it's in my head. Gerard Mayo.
Mr.
Mayo is super impressive, but he's only coached under Belichick. The GM situation is unsettled. Yet Mayo is on the record saying that the Pats are looking for a quarterback in the draft. The owner now seems super involved. these would be considered red flags for most teams.
I imagine that the owner always tried to be super involved, but Belichick is a strong enough football personality to kind of keep him at bay. I imagine every owner wants to be involved, right? Has an opinion on what you should or shouldn't do based on what their eyes are seeing or what their people are telling them. Tepper, Pagula, we just don't hear about it as much, right? Like all of these guys want to be involved. Is Mayo enough of a personality, enough of an alpha to keep the Wolves at bay and to, be able to make decisions, football decisions that he believes are right for the team without the influence of the Kraft family? Or is he going to be, yes, sir, I agree with that. Yes, just happy to be here and nodding along to everything that gets suggested. I imagine that the amount of hatred he must have for Mac Jones is got to be off the scales, right?
The fact that he says, normally you don't get a new head coach saying, yeah, we need a quarterback pronto. We're going to be... You don't want to tip your hand there, basically.
Well, he has, and it's not good news for Mac Jones. Not that Mac Jones deserves more chances than he's already gotten, but it sure seems like Mr. Mayo is going. Look, this is the Patriots did this to themselves, right? They put this clause in his contract that made sure he would be next in line in the succession plan for Bill Belichick. Okay, that instead of going through the process, instead of interviewing the best candidates, we're just going to go ahead and promote the guy from within.
Now, look, if you find the quarterback, you can go from crap to the final eight.
Just ask Bill Belichick.
Look at the Houston Texans this year.
Yes.
Honestly, they were crap last year, and then they made the right choice. And well, New England is in that position to take a quarterback, and their new head coach has basically said, yeah, we're going to take a quarterback. Unless everybody lies. I don't know.
BetQL's Kate Constable going to give us her winners for this weekend's divisional round next in the Sports Bar. 866-4FAN if you want to pull up a stool. That's the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. 866-4326.
You're listening Rochester Sports Update.
Sabres hockey tonight. A game moved from last night as the team is hosting Chicago. Head coach Don Granato looking for a little rhythm.
Well, the challenge, we're going to find that out, but the concern is more the issue. And there is a concern when you break rhythm. I mean, we've been in a pretty good rhythm and focus, but you just have to adjust on the fly. It felt a lot like the experiences through COVID.
Coverage tonight begins at 7 here on the Fan Rochester. No travel ban today in Buffalo, which meant full practice for the Bills today. 5 players, though, not working out, not practicing. Taylor Rapp, Christian Benford, Terrell Bernard, Balin Spector, and Gabe Davis. Taryn Johnson working out in the red non-contact jersey. Fun night for the Amherst. They won over Lehigh Valley 6-0. The team playing at Utica tomorrow night. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, the Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
To have a big game like this in the playoffs at home, a team that you've played in the postseason and has had your number in the playoffs, and to get them in your friendly confines in front of your home fans, certainly an advantage.
They've been a very good road team, and when you have an Andy Reid, when you have a defense like this, and Patrick Mahomes and a team with a chip on their shoulder doesn't care where they're playing, I don't think it matters.
Mike Danger.
Listen, Patrick Mahomes is going to come into this game pissed off. The Patrick Mahomes brand took a hit the last time he played the Bills, and he's not going to forget that.
Gene Battaglia.
When they don't have to press, having that early lead and you're in control and you can dictate. And that's why for this game, I am concerned. And why would you have to press? Because I think Kansas City is going to put up points. How could they not? You're so banged up.
Buffalo and Chicago tonight.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Dylan Cousins scores!
Amherst hockey.
Victor Neutchev with his 4th of the season, and that makes it a 6-0 game.
Who knew 2024 would be the year of hot squeegee talk?
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan. Rochester.
Love engaging with our regulars on Elon's Twitter at The Fan Rochester. One of our favorites, UPS driver Josh, asking the question, you guys going to be hanging out for a few after the show tomorrow at 3 Heads, going to try and stop in after work. Go Bills. Josh, that's the plan. And if you'll stop out, we'll be sure to raise a glass to you, my friend. I mean, the job that guys like Josh do, especially as we referenced during the holiday season when it's just constant, yeah, you're worthy of a pint on us, and we'll take care of that for you, Josh. So we look forward to seeing you. Tomorrow, we'll be at 3 Heads, 3 until 6. As we take the show on the road for Friday Football Talk Live. The playoff edition, it's a special Friday afternoon at 3 Heads. Not only are Gene and I there doing the show live, we'll also have free barbecue from our friends from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub. And if you've ever had Good Smoke Barbecue, you know what a treat that is. So we'll expect to see you tomorrow afternoon from 3 until 6. And we'll get you everything that you need to know last minute leading up to Bills and Chiefs coming up here on Sunday night. We'll also be joined by Joe Marino from the Locked On Bills podcast tomorrow at 3:25. Alex Gold from our Odyssey Sports sister station, 610 Sports in Kansas City, stops by the sports bar at 4:25. And Taylor Jensen, Rochester Nighthawk, will be on set as well, live with us here in the sports bar just after 4 o'clock. We welcome you on into the sports bar. It's Danger and Battaglia streaming at The Fan Rochester on Twitch, our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester, and the free to download Odyssey app. And we appreciate you listening locally as well at 95.7 FM and AM 950.
Yeah, we found her, Kate Constable. The Better Angle, BetQL Network, and
Insider Calls presented by BetMGM. We invite you to check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app. Had to make sure we got that in there, Kate, just to peek behind the curtain. You know, we get these interviews set up. We are producer-less here. I know that the BetQL Network, you guys have producers and people behind the scenes, and everything is a well-oiled machine. It's just us two schleppy guys here in a studio trying to, piece together a show. And, Jordan, our buddy in Philadelphia there, mistakenly gave us PJ Glasser's number as your number. So we went to reach out to PJ, and he's like,
"Is Kate there?" He's like, "Gene, this is PJ." I'm like, "Oh my gosh."
But we've got Kate, and Kate is on the line with us. Kate, and we appreciate you giving some time. Welcome into the sports bar. It's great to have you on with us finally.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I mean, I'm impressed. We have issues all the time getting guests on and getting the right numbers and getting them on the line on time. So without a producer, I imagine that's pretty tricky. So I'm impressed and happy to be on with you guys.
So, Kate, we're looking at these 4 matches. As you can imagine, we are right in the heart of Buffalo Bills country, and you're looking at this matchup, and it's been interesting. The Bills have had the better of the Chiefs the last 3 games in the regular season. Postseason's a much, much different story, but now something new, and that's the setting. And for the first time since the year 2014, yes, they played in 2020, but for the first time with fans in the stands, the Chiefs are coming to Western New York again for the first time in 9 years. So when you look at this matchup, Kansas City and Buffalo, how do you view this from the better angle?
So I got to be careful with how I
it's okay.
give my take, being this is the heart of, we are in the heart of Buffalo right now.
We want to win money, Kate. That's what we're interested in here.
Well, okay, I will say this. The Bills are the hottest team in the NFL right now, right? I mean, the way they ended the regular season, you couldn't have a team going into this round of the playoffs with more momentum right now. And they've essentially been operating like a playoff team for the last couple of weeks. The thing that really worries me about them this weekend is all of the injuries, which I'm sure you guys have touched on a ton. Just that secondary being pretty banged up. That could be a big issue, especially with, the Chiefs offense hasn't looked good all season, but they started to click a little the last couple of weeks. Rasheed Rice has really been evolving as that number 1 go-to wide receiver option for Mahomes. And I'm a little worried that between he and Travis Kelce, with Rice garnering more attention now, that maybe that opens things up for Kelce a little bit more. So I think the Chiefs are able to keep this one close. I am taking them +3. I was able to grab them at the 2.5. Obviously, you want that key number of 3, but I couldn't talk you off taking them 2.5. I think this one is really, really close, and it's just going to come down to which quarterback's able to make more plays down the stretch.
Yeah, and nobody's really talking about what Kansas City's defense has done this year, Kate. I mean, their defense is very quietly one of the best units in the entirety of the NFL, and Josh Allen has been prone to make some mistakes.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the defense is what's gotten Kansas City to this point. They're winning games because of their defense. Finished the season top 10 in third downs, red zone percentage. They've only given up 21 points twice on 2 different occasions, and one of those was against Denver, and they had 5 turnovers in them. So this defense has been really, really good, which means Josh Allen is going to have to take care of the football, because if they're giving Kansas City any extra possessions, I don't think that's going to work out for the Bills in the long run. Because of how good their defense is, the Chiefs, that is, I also see this game going under. So that's the way another angle that you could play this game. I mean, Mahomes and Allen have become like one of the best rivalries over the last couple of years. And so this is going to be a little bit more of a rock fight. Both of these teams needing to lean more on their defense, especially the Chiefs, just with how kind of on and off their offense has been. So looking at an under in this game, especially with the weather being a little chilly out there, I think that's another good angle to look at.
Kate, I ended up on the wrong side, and you can relate to this. Any better could. Like, I'm thinking, all right, Josh Allen, 213 yards, the over-under against the Steelers. Please, like, he's going to be on, and he was on, but a couple short fields. He had a long rushing touchdown, and then the Shakir touchdown. I'm like, okay, how much? Okay, all you need is one more pass, and then they're not going to pass again. It went under. So help us out here for prop bets, player props in this game. Is there anything, whether that's Josh Allen, whether that's Diggs, whether it's something on the Kansas City side, any player props that you could advise here?
Yeah, I would look at Dalton Kincaid again for the Bills. I mean, kind of operating in that 2 tight end set's been really successful for them. So look at receptions over for Kincaid. I also wouldn't even hate it if you threw Knox in and take his receiving yards over. I'm sure that line is probably pretty short. On the other side, I did mention Kelce. Now that Rice is garnering more attention, I think Kelce's receptions could open up either over 6.5 or really Kelce at any time touchdown. I also all season have been taking Josh Allen to have a rushing touchdown, and for the most part, that's hit pretty easily. And so if you could parlay that with, if you like the Bills on the money line, maybe take Bills money line and Josh Allen to score, something like that, you'd probably get like a plus 115 payout somewhere around there. So finding those little spots that you can kind of put a couple bets together that are a little bit more heavily juiced, but parlay one or two of those and get a plus money payout.
Kate, the action is going to start on Saturday afternoon. The Ravens giving Houston 9.5 points right now at BetQL. And look, I know the Ravens look like the class of the NFL, but I still look at that 9.5 and I'm like, that's a lot. That's a lot of points for a Houston team that's looked pretty good here down the stretch. What's your take on the early game Saturday afternoon?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. 9.5 is too many for me. I'll be taking the Texans. I mean, C.J. Stroud, he is not operating like a rookie quarterback at all, right? I mean, how poised he is. He's not afraid to shy away in these big moments. He's not turning the ball over, no interceptions in 6 straight games, and completed over 75% of his passes in 3 straight games. So he's kind of firing on all cylinders, and I think the Texans are able to keep this one close. They have a defense that is really good against the run. I know the Ravens have a great passing game as well. They can kind of do it all. So different ways that the Ravens can win, but at least the Texans are going to be able to, I think, mitigate any blowout potential by Baltimore because of some aspects of their defense and really because of how good C.J. Stroud has been.
Kate Constable, BetQL Network, joining us here in the Sports Bar. 2 NFC matchups to talk about, and another big line. What I'm reading right now on BetQL, it's the Packers getting 9.5. And Kate, I go back to last week when I looked at the Bills. It was bouncing around a little bit, but it was at 9.5. It was at 10, and we're like, wait a second, hold on, whoa. Why wouldn't you take the Steelers here? The Bills have been winning these close games, and then I think, well, that's because they, this is what the odds makers want to do. So the idea that the 49ers, a rested 49er team, going against a Green Bay team that, hey, their season has been a success if they've just gotten to this point. Are you feeling comfortable enough to lay points with the Niners in this one?
So I've gone back and forth with this one as well. I think I am. I think the Niners are the right side. They're coming in rested, healthy, a couple defensive players back that will be huge for them. But the way I have bet this one as of now is to take the 49ers team total over 30.5. I mean, how many offensive weapons do the 49ers have between Kittle and McCaffrey and Ayuk, Samuel? Like, they have so many ways to beat you on offense. And for the most part this season, like, the Packers defense really was not all that great. It's been really good these last couple of weeks, but it still gave up 500 yards to the Cowboys last week. And again, I know a lot of that was in garbage time, so maybe those yards don't really matter. I'm just not sure that Green Bay is going to be able to stop San Francisco from scoring. Maybe the Packers are able to score alongside with them and cover this number. But either way, I think the 49ers find the end zone enough to get over their team total of 30.5.
It's been a fun ride this season for the Detroit Lions, and it continues with another home playoff game with Tampa coming in. And Tampa, I think, a team that most people thought were in a soft tank. That was the term that we gave them at the beginning of the season. That feels like a soft tank team. But the Bucs, advancing and now taking on Detroit. And 6.5 point underdogs here, according to BetQL, Kate. So do the Lions continue their run here in the NFC? Do they handle the Buccaneers? What's your take on this matchup?
The Lions continue their run, but I'm not sure they fully handle the Buccaneers in terms of covering. I like the Bucs plus 6.5. I mean, the Lions got their first playoff win since 1991. Like, that's a huge accomplishment for the organization. So it's weird to say this in the postseason, but is this any sort of a little bit of a letdown spot when you have a team like the Bucs coming in? It would be different if it was the Ravens or the Niners coming in where the Lions knew they had to get up and they were the underdogs. But being in this situation, I just worry a little bit that the Lions let their guard down. Both of these offenses, their passing game is great, and to have, the way Chris Godwin and Mike Evans have been playing with Baker Mayfield, like, their passing game has been so good, and that's a huge weakness for the Lions is that secondary. The Lions are great at stopping the run, but they're not great at stopping the pass. So maybe the Bucs can keep up with the Lions in this one. I think the Lions ultimately win, having home field advantage. The Bucs have not been great on the road this year, but I think this one's going to be a lot closer than some people might think, and I'm not totally just jumping on the Lions to make it to the NFC quite yet. They need to get past the Bucs here.
So, Kate, my last one on football is this. And here in New York State, we're not allowed to bet on the Super Bowl MVP or the MVP or anything like that. It actually has to happen. But in terms of the future of the Super Bowl, is there any value as far as the money line or anything like that? As far as, all right, what we want to bet here 3 weeks from now when the two teams match up here for the championship?
You mean like who I think it will be in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, is there any value in taking, say, Kansas City right now and putting money on the Chiefs to win it all?
Oh, I think for sure. Yeah, if you think that the Chiefs can get past Buffalo, which I think they might be able to, guys, I'm sorry, but then yes, there certainly is value there, especially if you like the Packers to get by San Francisco, you better bet the Packers now because that line is going to drop significantly if they're able to do so. So if there are any underdogs that you like to win outright this week and think have a chance, those are the teams that I would be targeting right now to bet the futures market to win the Super Bowl because you're going to get great value right now, whereas if they win, that value is going to plummet significantly, a lot more than it would be if one of the favorites win this week because the market is expecting them to win and move on based on the line.
Kate, before we let you go, we know you've got some picks for the NBA tonight as well, 5 games tonight, and we could start with our Knicks. You like the Knicks to cover tonight against Washington?
Yes, I do. The Knicks, since trading for OG Anunoby, I mean, their defense has been one of the best in the league. Brunson back in the lineup, without Brunson in the lineup, fade the Knicks every single time. But when he's back, their offense just flows so well. And going up against a Wizards team, they've already beat by double digits twice this season. The Knicks, Tom Thibodeau does not allow his team to overlook these bad teams. 17-0 against teams with a losing record, that's pretty good. So the Knicks are going to come ready to play. I'm not scared of a big number with this team in this situation. So yeah, taking the Knicks to cover. I believe it's 12.5.
Yeah, Kate, great having you on our show for the first time. Tell everybody about the better angle, what time we can catch it here.
Yeah, no, great being on with you guys. The better angles each Saturday from 4 to 7 in the East. You can catch that on the BetQL network or the Odyssey app, also on twitch.tv/BetQL. A couple different avenues.
Kate, let's do it again soon. Really appreciate your time this afternoon.
Yeah, for sure. Anytime, guys.
You got it. There's Kate Constable, BetQL Network, Odyssey Sports Betting Insider, Insider Calls presented by BetMGM. Go check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app.
Yeah, I think that you're going to get a lot of people saying Kansas City is going to win this game outright. I mean, you're getting plus points with the Chiefs on the road, where I would say...
I love that she came in here and didn't sugarcoat it.
Yeah,
she didn't. She could have very easily said, well, I know I'm talking to a Bills station, so let me tell you all the great things about the Bills. Like, no, there's a reason why people are believing that Kansas City can win this game.
The more I think about this game, here's my fear. And it's not Travis Kelce. He'll make a few plays. It's not Rice. He'll break one off. It's the idea that you could have linebackers 5 and 6 going against Isaiah Pacheco, and you have a very smart quarterback that can manipulate the pocket and maybe dump off to him at some point. So, to me, Pacheco is my biggest concern in this game. So, we'll reserve our final pick tomorrow. And look, we're going to have a lot of fun tomorrow, and that's going to be the thing. I'm not saying that the Bills can't do it. I'm just expressing to you my main concern about this matchup.
Dan Fates, 13 Wham Sports, BuffaloPlus.com. Our guest next in the Sports Bar. We'll talk a little bit more about today's Bills practice, look at that injury report with Fatesy, and preview Bills Chiefs coming up here in the divisional round Sunday night on the Fan Rochester. When it comes to the NFL playoffs, you've got to win one game at a time. It's Mike Danger for FanDuel Sportsbook, official partner of 95.7 The Fan. When you bet the NFL playoffs on FanDuel, one game can mean a lot of wins. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. They have all your favorite bets like money line, the spread, plus all sorts of prop bets. You just heard Kate Constable lay out a bunch of great plays for this weekend. Every day, right now, there's an NFL playoff game, and every day, FanDuel is giving all customers a no-sweat same-game parlay. So let's look at that Bills money line with a Josh Allen anytime touchdown. Build your no-sweat same-game parlay when you combine all your bets for a chance at a bigger payday. You get bonus bets back if your same-game parlay doesn't win. Just visit FanDuel.com/Mike if you don't already have an account. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 plus and physically legally present in New York. Minimum 3-leg parlay required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Max refund $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
You're listening to the update.
Sabres hockey tonight here on The Fan. This was the game that was supposed to be played last night. Chicago is the opponent. Our coverage will begin at 7 o'clock. Now, there is no travel ban today in Buffalo, which meant everybody able to get to practice for the Buffalo Bills, but not all practicing. 5 players not working out today due to injury. Taylor Rapp, Christian Benford, Terrell Bernard, Balin Spector, and Gabe Davis. Taron Johnson was working out in the red non-contact jersey. Now, on the other side of the ball, offensive coordinator Joe Brady ready to go up against Chiefs defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo.
He's been at the top for a while, right? And he does such a great job of combining scheme with the skill set that he has, right? He doesn't just run these plays just because this is the defense I've been running for years. He does such a good job of putting his players in position to have success.
13 Wham and Buffalo Plus's Dan Bates joining us next. Gene Battaglia, The Fan, Rochester.
With no chaser, you're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
We just had to get to a certain level of consistency with our play, be more opportunistic, really emphasize taking the ball away, which is, one of our calling cards, so to speak. And the guys have been doing a tremendous job with that. The takeaways that we've been able to get, those things have really helped us.
This is Bill's defensive line coach, Eric Washington. Emphasizing takeaways, yeah, that would be a bonus if you can get some takeaways from the Kansas City Chiefs coming up here Sunday evening in Orchard Park. We welcome in from 13 Wham Sports, Buffalo Plus, Dan Bates in the Sports Bar. And boy, Dan, I think the story for the Bills going into this game is, you went into that Pittsburgh game relatively healthy. You're coming out of that Pittsburgh game a mash unit. Got a lot of guys missing practice here on a Thursday, and I kind of want to go through the importance of each of them because you have the potential here to be dealing with some backups that haven't seen a lot of game time in your most important game of the season.
Yeah, I think the most important one is Taron Johnson. Obviously, it's not a hot take to say that the Bills' second-team All-Pro, the only All-Pro on the roster, is just massive. He's massive to their passing game. He's massive to their running game. He's massive to their blitzing game and their pressure. He's the most important piece. The other one, to me, if we're ranking the most important players to get back on the field, I think Terrell Bernard may be a long shot this week. I think he would be number one. But I do think that Tyrell Dodson returning to practice is a step in the right direction. Quietly, he's had a really, really good season filling in and being that thumping linebacker. He's been pretty good in coverage, all of those things. You can't have 2 backup linebackers. Or where were the Bills at the end of that game? Because they were down their top 4 corners and their top 3 linebackers. So to get him back on the field would also be just a massive boost. So those are the ones I'm looking at. And I thought Rasul Douglas would play last week. I know at practice today he did have a brace on his knee, but I think he's also coming back as well.
Yeah, so with Douglas back perhaps, not having Benford there, Dane Jackson has been serviceable. He's been in many of these matchups against Kansas City, but is he a corner that Patrick Mahomes would go after here, Dan?
Yeah, he can go after him, but right now Dane Jackson may be playing the best football of his career right now. And to call him serviceable, I think it's a little disrespectful to Dane. And I have called Dane the ugly penny at times because the Bills can't seem to get rid of him, and he hangs around, and then when he gets his opportunities, he plays really well. So, look, I went back and I was watching the last 2 games, and the way that Dane Jackson, the way that he played in Miami was just outstanding when Rasul Douglas, who said he wanted to come back into that game, but said that Dane was playing so well, he didn't feel like he had to push it. And then, obviously, again, Dane Jackson's the 7th-round pick out of Pitt. We always forget about him, and that when he went in the game, I was like, oh, yeah, Dane's still on the team. And then he makes 2 pass breaks up. He gets a big 4th down pass break up before the last drive there of the Steelers game. He's probably playing the best that he has. And, again, we can talk about all these injuries on defense, but I'm just not scared of the Chiefs' offense. I'm just not. And the way that I don't think there's another coordinator or coach in this league that I would want right now calling a defense other than Sean McDermott. And that's a really good thing that he didn't fire himself earlier this season, because good thing he didn't, because this defense, with all their injuries, is playing at an insanely high level and a confident group no matter who is out there. Because, guys, I thought they were about to call us up in that game on Sunday or on Monday night because they were just so banged up. I couldn't believe it. I'm looking at these guys going, these are guys that haven't played since preseason, and they're playing in a massive playoff game, and holding their own enough to get it stopped. I know the Steelers' offense isn't good, but they had third, fourth, and fifth stringers out there at least being serviceable and holding the Steelers down.
So let's dive a little bit deeper here into the defensive side of the ball for the Bills, because the injuries are going to be a concern. And if things don't go their way, you've already baked in an excuse as to why things didn't go your way, right? Oh, we were playing with our third and fourth string linebackers. What do you expect? But you did invest in the defensive line. The defensive line is, from what we can tell, relatively healthy. And you're going to need that defensive line to step up in a big way, because there's a difference in the lineup for Kansas City this game versus when these two teams played, just over a month ago, and that's Isaiah Pacheco. So talk a little bit about how important the defensive line's play is going to be here in terms of stopping that run game of Kansas City.
Yeah, and Pacheco, when the Bills played them, like we said, I think it was a little over a month ago, the Bills didn't have Daquan Jones. So now they got Daquan Jones back. They've also had Linval Joseph, who played well, I thought, in the interior, as well as, kind of given a break. But listen, Tim Settle played pretty well against the Steelers. You had Ed Oliver doing his thing, as always, and then you have, A.J. Epinesa back healthy, who got injured on the first series of that Chiefs game in Kansas City. And then you have Greg Rousseau, who I think should have been a Pro Bowler, should have been nominated for at least some All-Pro team, in my opinion. What he's done, obviously his numbers are really good against sacks and things like that. But his tackles for losses, the way that he's impacted the rushing game, I thought has been incredible. So if there is a unit of the Bills' defense that's healthy besides the safeties, which, well, hopefully that they get Taylor Rapp back, it's the health that's on the defensive line. So if there is one silver lining of all these injuries, at least right now it doesn't seem like it's at the defensive line, which, again, Pacheco runs angry. We know that. They're going to need to rely on him. They got to take it away. It's crazy to say, make Patrick Mahomes beat you, but just don't let Pacheco be the one to do it.
Yeah, 13 Whams, Dan Fates joining us. Pacheco being a difference from that December game. Here's another difference. The setting. Yes, we've been talking a lot about this, and I just want to get your take on this because it was funny, Dan. I was right next to Catalana talking to Ed Oliver post-game, and Ed knew instantly, like they all knew, hey, we're bringing Kansas City here, and you could see he's talking about how he knows Kansas City. It's almost like a home to him. It's great to get him here. How does this play out? I mean, because on the other end, you could say, well, I'm sure the Chiefs players and the coaches and everybody else in the organization is being told, hey, you've never gone on the road here in the postseason. It's a new challenge for them, too.
Yeah, it kind of comes across as like it's almost disrespectful to Patrick Mahomes. But, he just hasn't had to. That's part of the reward of being as good as the Chiefs have been for the last 5 to 6 years. But it doesn't mean that he can't. It just means that he's never done it. And I think that the Bills are licking their chops at this. Now, on the flip side, I think that adds extra pressure to Buffalo. We were just talking right now in the sports office. The biggest game in Western New York in 20 years? Like national media attention, all these things. This is what you wanted. We talked about it on our Buffalo Plus podcast this week, Mike and I said, nobody remembers, you don't build legacies on regular season wins. And it's great that the Bills have beaten the Chiefs the last 3 times in the regular season. That's great. Nobody cares about that. And you've always talked about getting the Chiefs at home. And last year you got tripped up by the Bengals in your house. And now you wanted this opportunity with the Chiefs. And because the Chiefs are struggling and all of these things, it's like the dog that has been chasing the car for so long. You've now caught up to the car. So what are you going to do now? Because I would argue this is the biggest game of Josh Allen's career. This is the biggest game of Sean McDermott's career. And I know they played in the AFC Championship game. That was different. The different period. The team was almost what felt like ahead of schedule, and they got blown out in that game. That was the first Chiefs playoff game. They just weren't ready for that test. Now they've been studying, and this is what they've built this team for. And you're getting a team, and look, the Bills have the better roster. I'd argue right now they have the better coach. And I would argue right now they have the quarterback that is playing better. They're expected to win this game. They should win this game. I'm pretty confident in that they will, but you add in all this pressure. I expect Orchard Park to be electric. Deion Dawkins says that he's expected to be the loudest crowd that he's ever been around. And it's nice the fact that nobody's asking them, how are you going to handle the snap count? How are you guys going to handle Arrowhead and all those fans? I have a hard time thinking Juwan Taylor is going to handle this atmosphere very well. I don't think they've experienced anything like this. And honestly, I don't think any of us have experienced anything like this probably since Catalano was covering the team in the early 90s.
Yeah. I mean, we're allowing ourselves to kind of visualize what the world looks like on Monday with the Bills win and with the Bills loss. And I'm wondering, there's a lot of conversation this week about the teams that were bounced in the wild card round and their head coaches and the futures of that team. And I know Sean McDermott's in no way in any sort of trouble. Right. He's not on the hot seat. Any talk of that from the middle of the season when the Bills were losing, everything has been squashed because of this run that they're on right now. But if the Bills do fail on Sunday and Kansas City gets over on them, are we having similar conversations about this coach the way Dallas fans are having about Mike McCarthy, a coach that can get you to a point but ultimately can't get you there?
Yeah, I think you'd have those conversations. I don't know if they'd necessarily be warranted. And it also depends, guys, how the game plays out. Like, we're trying to sit there in this scenario, like, do they get blown out 30-13? Well, then, yeah, I think there's a problem. Is it a 17-14 game down the stretch and the Bills have the ball late? Well, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think what Sean McDermott has done and has proven this year, and I was skeptical about how I would think of Sean McDermott as a defensive coordinator. Again, I don't think I'd rather have anybody else calling a defense right now. And this was against a team, and trust me, my DMs during Bills games, I look at them, and everybody says, here he comes again. He's going to choke. He's going to choke. He's going to choke. Okay? He shut down Patrick Mahomes in the last 2 drives in Kansas City. He absolutely skunked the Cowboys. He held the Dolphins in their high-powered offense in Miami. It wasn't like they had him in Buffalo to 50-something yards in the second half. What more do you want Sean McDermott to do than go out there and put a helmet and pads on himself to prove to you that this guy's a damn good football coach? Again, you got to win Super Bowls. That is how you're judged. That's how Josh Allen is going to be judged. Because it's funny, we always talk about, Mahomes is 2-0 against Allen in the postseason. That's a dumb stat because that 13-second game, Allen was perfect. He was the best you can play possible in a playoff game. He just lost. It happens. Like, I don't know what else you want me to say. And that was after that game, that was after he literally was perfect, the 7 touchdowns, 7 drives against Bill Belichick in New England. Yeah. Like, this is a guy that has risen to the occasions late in the year when he pretty much says, screw it, puts his body on the line, and has just been special in big moments. And I expect more special Josh Allen coming up here on Sunday night.
Buffalo Plus 13 Wham. Dan Fates joining us in the sports bar. Now, I kind of agree with you. Pacheco is a big concern here. The Bills' injury is a big concern. What is your concern level, Dan, with the Buffalo special teams right now?
Pretty high. Oh, absolutely pretty high. Yeah, that's probably the one advantage I would give to the Chiefs. I think you go position by position group, one side of the ball to the other coaching staff. I really, really like the Bills, and pretty much all of them. It's nice to see that Sam Martin was limited today. That means he's progressing, however that works. I would like to think that Tyler Bass just had one of those days like when I'm at the tee box and I just can't hit a driver, and it's just one of those days that no matter what, I'm just not hitting the club face on the right spot. But Harrison Butker is a really good kicker. They've got weapons in the return game. We know how that works. We saw the Super Bowl last year, all of those things. The Bills' special teams doesn't need to be good, guys. It just can't cost them. That's how I look at the special teams. Anytime they're out on the field, just don't make a massive mistake and move on. Give the ball to Josh or give the ball over to the defense.
I mean, we could also, visualize a game where you don't even need your special teams, really. I mean,
that'd be cool.
No punts, no field goals. I would sign up for that tomorrow.
Yeah, here's something. Mike and I were talking about it on our podcast up on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel right now, that we're strangely overly confident about this game. Mike said he was more worried about the Steelers game. I said I was more worried about the Miami Week 18 game. Just because I just didn't know what that offense could always do. You just never knew with Mike McDaniel and that mind and that setting that you could just be in a boat race with the Dolphins. And then Mike was worried about the weather and how that could ugly the game up for the Steelers. And if the Steelers play a Steelers-like game and the Bills kind of trip over their own shoelaces, what would happen?
You're more confident about this game.
I am. And that's what worries me, because guys, here's what I went through and looked at. Here's what I went through and looked at today. Can you guys name how many playoff teams the Chiefs beat this season?
Ooh, okay.
They lost to the Packers.
Correct.
Okay.
They beat Miami in the regular season. Who else? Let me see.
They lost to Philly.
Yep.
All right, so
they lost to Buffalo.
You're giving us you're teeing us up here.
He's leading us down the path.
What's the record against playoff teams, Dan?
2-4, and those 2 wins were both against Miami. They beaten Miami. They lost to the Lions, the Eagles, the Packers, the Bills. We keep thinking, and again, that Dolphins team that they beat at home in sub-zero temperatures. People are like, here comes the Chiefs, like they're the Golden State Warriors, and they're going to flip this switch with the Splash Brothers. I just don't see it. If the Dolphins had any pulse and had 3 out of their 6 starters on defense, I think that's a much closer game. I thought the Bills should be a 4 or 5 point favorite in this game. I think they're a much better team. I think you're getting a team that is legacy game vibes on the line, hungry dog runs faster, all of these things. Seizing the opportunity, all of those moments, and they're just playing better. So I don't know. I just see this game as, I understand it's Patrick Mahomes, but if you took away those colors and you took away those helmets, would you be really scared about this team? I don't know.
All right. So if we're allowed to visualize what the world looks like if it goes poorly for the Bills, let's think about what it looks like if they win, because we can look ahead to next week. And man, that outcome of the Saturday afternoon game in Baltimore is going to mean everything. If the Bills win and Houston pulls off an upset, my God, we're hosting the AFC Championship game. That would be bananas. And regardless, if it is Baltimore, the Bills traveling to Baltimore doesn't feel daunting, even though Baltimore has looked like the class of the NFL here the last few weeks.
Yeah. A couple things. I just want to finish my point. Bills against playoff teams this year, 6-1. Their only loss was to the Eagles. I just wanted to throw that out there as well. And looking at that other matchup on the other side of the AFC, Houston scares me. And I know, and like I said, I know you can look at some of these metrics and you can maybe overreact to wow, look at how good the Packers played and look at how good this team played. Because in the season, they really weren't that good. The Packers have this vibe to me a little bit of we got a bad dude at quarterback, and if our defense, which has been really bad this year, can be serviceable, we think they got a chance. And if you're Houston, you're the same thing. Their secondary isn't very good. Their defense is average, but they're thinking C.J. Stroud is a dude that can carry us no matter what. I was hoping – I really didn't want to face Houston in any kind of spot because I just thought they're a dangerous team that – maybe is so ahead of schedule that they don't know what they don't know. They're too young and dumb to understand how good they could be. And if I'm Baltimore, I know they've been really good, but if there's been one kryptonite for that Baltimore team, it's the playoffs. That's been Lamar Jackson's Achilles heel. And the stat for it here, too, visiting teams playing number 1 seeds, they're 26-14-1 against the spread over the last 2 decades. So, this thought of they have extra rest and all these things, that hasn't worked out really well for teams that have been playing 3 weeks between games because they had the bye and then they didn't play in Week 18. So could there be a little bit of a sluggish start there for Baltimore, and could Houston get hot and feeling confident? I don't know. But the thought of the Bills hosting an AFC Championship game isn't so far-fetched to me.
Well, does that add more pressure then? Because then you wake up Sunday morning, it's oh my God, you can't blow it then. This would be, if Houston wins that game, we're going to wake up, oh my gosh, today is the day. They're going to get by it. And then that would go off a cliff. That would be like a Super Bowl loss if you lost to Kansas City, knowing that it was laid out.
Wasn't that last year? Last year we all said, we all thought, oh my gosh, they could host the Chiefs if they just took care of the Bengals.
Yeah.
And
that would have been neutral site.
Oh, you're right.
That would have been neutral site. But still... Right. The pathway was there. Or the 13-second year, Dan, you would have been back home against Cincinnati that year. So, yes, I guess they've had these situations. All right, finish the sentence for me, because every year, divisional round, you're going to get at least one road team. So the road team you like the most this week to pull it off, Dan Fates, is?
The Packers.
Wow.
I know, and that defense stinks. Stinks with a capital S. And Joe Barry's a terrible defensive coordinator. But that offense right now is feeling something, and they may be a team that, again, is just too young and dumb to understand that they're not that good. And I don't know. That Niners team sometimes worries me. We know how Kyle Shanahan is. I don't know. I don't really like either one of those number one seeds laying 9.5 points.
Yeah.
I don't like either of those odds. I'm going to take the points on both of those other teams. Tease them up if you want, if you're really concerned about it. But I just think those games are not easy layups just because, well, Baltimore's been this good all season long. Well, it's not this season anymore. We've seen that. Like, the Bills have proven that, like, we've seen other teams in wild cards get hot. And all of a sudden, you just have this level of swagger and this confidence. It's part of what the Bills have right now. Since this change to Joe Brady, since, I remember Mitch Morse up at the podium. Gene, you were there too. After that Denver game, and Josh looked as despondent as I've ever seen Josh at the podium.
Yeah.
And he just looked numb. And Mitch Morse said, this is when good teams come together. And we're all like, this team's dead. This team has nothing. And all of a sudden, we went to Philly, and they had life, and I know they lost that game, but I thought, man, they were a really good team that game. And I said, they're going to come back, and Mike was the first one to say it. He goes, they're going to go to Kansas City and win, they're going to beat Dallas, they're going to win the division, and they're going to go in the postseason as the division champs. And they have. And this is, like I said, this is the most physical, complete team that I've seen for the Bills that they can have. The Chiefs' weakness, they have a really good defense. I really like their defense. Their weakness is running the ball. James Cook, this offensive line is built more than it's ever been for Josh Allen to them to run the ball down the Chiefs' throat in a game where they can play some bully ball. Think of the Cowboys game. That's what I want to see here.
Dan, what are you, Mike, and Jenna working at BuffaloPlus.com and 13 Web Sports here leading up to the game on Sunday that we can check out?
Yeah, we had the podcast up yesterday. We have our live show on 13 Wham ABC tomorrow, 7:30. Mike, Jenna, and I will be breaking down the game. Mike's talking to some people from Kansas City tomorrow. That will be up on the channel. My best bets will be up there. And then, obviously, if you want to catch up anything from the week before, Mike, Jen, and I have our recap of the game against the Steelers.
Dan, little off topic, but maybe not. How would you get somebody, a superstar, into the stadium? There is no VIP entrance. Like if Taylor Swift, she's going into the players' tunnel. That would be the only way, right?
Yeah, they'd have to lead her through the back of the stadium. Like there's always that's the craziest thing about Highmark Stadium. Like, and that was another thing too about all this snow you're talking about. Like, what if there was a serious injury? Like, when you had all that snow around, like, you got to get things in and out of the field. Like, there's one tunnel. I don't think people understand that as much, that how rare that is for a stadium. But, yeah, there's only one way in and out.
I just want her to get the Takeo Spikes treatment. Give her that sweet, and let's call it an afternoon, Dan.
Yeah.
Appreciate your time as always, bud. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll talk to you hopefully next week.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate it as always.
13 Wham Sports, BuffaloPlus.com. That's Dan Fates stopping by the sports bar. All right, Bills fans, you got to feel pretty good after that conversation. Dan is high on this team, really high, and not as high on Kansas City as some people are.
Yeah, and pointing out the fact that, like, how many times did we say that about the Dolphins? Oh, you haven't beaten anybody. Okay, Kansas City's beaten Miami. No one else this season.
Yeah, they've struggled against playoff teams. The Bills, pretty good against playoff teams. One loss, and that was to the Eagles on a kick that...
On a 59-yard field goal in the rain, yeah.
Right. Not too bad. Appreciate Dan Fates stopping by and sharing his thoughts on Sunday night's divisional round matchup at Highmark with the Chiefs coming into town. Happy hour is next in the sports bar. We've got a round of shots. We've got time for your calls. You know what? We can start taking your predictions now. 585-866-4FAN. I know that there's still some lingering injury concerns, but really, which way are you leaning? 866-4326.
You're listening At the Fan Rochester, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
There's a hockey game tonight in Buffalo. The travel ban has been lifted. Sabres hosting Chicago. Here's head coach Don Granado.
Well, the challenge, we're going to find that out, but the concern is more of the issue. And you know, there is a concern when you break rhythm. I mean, we've been in a pretty good rhythm and focus, but you just have to adjust on the fly. Felt a lot like the experiences through COVID.
Coverage tonight begins at 7 here on the Fan Rochester. 5 players not practicing for the Buffalo Bills today due to injury. Christian Benford, Taylor Rapp, Terrell Bernard, Balin Spector, and Gabe Davis. The good news, Taron Johnson, who is in concussion protocol, working out in the red non-contact jersey. Amherst beating up Lehigh Valley by a 6-0 score on Wednesday night. A team playing at Utica tomorrow night. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
To have a big game like this in the playoffs at home, a team that you've played in the postseason and has had your number in the playoffs, and to get them in your friendly confines in front of your home fans, certainly an advantage.
They've been a very good road team, and when you have an Andy Reid, when you have a defense like this, and Patrick Mahomes and a team with a chip on their shoulder doesn't care where they're playing, I don't think it matters.
Mike Danger.
Listen, Patrick Mahomes is going to come into this game pissed off. The Patrick Mahomes brand took a hit the last time he played the Bills, and he's not going to forget that.
Gene Battaglia.
When they don't have to press, having that early lead and you're in control and you can dictate. And that's why for this game, I am concerned. And why would you have to press? Because I think Kansas City is going to put up points. How could they not? You're so banged up.
Buffalo and Chicago tonight.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Dylan Cousins scores!
Hammers hockey.
Victor Neutchev with his 4th of the season, and that makes it a 6-0 game.
Who knew 2024 would be the year of hot squeegee talk?
95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
It is happy hour in the sports bar. Danger and Battaglia. Appreciate you listening, stopping by at 95.7 FM, AM 950. Maybe you're listening in the free-to-download Odyssey app where we sound our best and trying to look our best on the video stream. You can watch us at The Fan Rochester on Twitch, also our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester on your smart device as well. When you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan, hey, look, you could watch us on the stream, you could listen to us in the free-to-download Odyssey app, or you could just hang out with us for 3 hours tomorrow afternoon when we do the show live, Friday Football Talk Live, from our home away from home, 3 Heads Brewing on Atlantic Avenue.
So you've heard us do these shows. You're thinking, I got to make it over there or something. Yeah, tomorrow is the day, okay? Because if you're a Bills fan and you want to enjoy every stop on this journey, let's just kind of suspend here. What if this is the year? Well, this would be the game, the team you got to get by. So the show tomorrow, come on out. We're going to have a lot of fun. We did get a question from UPS Josh, and we love our drivers. You're driving around. You guys are doing the real work out there today in these elements. He's asking if we're going to stay a little longer after the show. The answer is yes. Yeah, when we get off the air, we want to at least hang. We get our commercial breaks, and there's only so much we can do during those breaks.
Yeah.
But certainly after the show, we'll be hanging.
I mean, I can do a lot of damage during those commercial breaks in terms of what they're putting in front of me, but
we can share a cold one and maybe a win or two.
It is certainly more relaxed once we sign off at 6 o'clock, and we'd love to see you. We'll also have some delicious Good Smoke barbecue there as well. Our friends from Good Smoke stepping up big for Friday Football Talk Live. The playoff edition will get you set up for Bills and Chiefs with our conversation with both Joe Marino from the Locked On Bills podcast tomorrow afternoon at 3:25 and Alex Gold from 610 Sports in Kansas City. He'll join us at 4:25, and sandwiched in there, we'll talk to Taylor Jensen of the Rochester Nighthawks. I think I'm going to go right out of the gate, Nighthawks Hazy IPA. No questions asked.
That's always a safe play there. That's very good. Mm-hmm. I like that. So tomorrow is going to be, there are two camps of Bills fans here. This is our time. And then Nervous Nelly. Like, if it's going to be this way here on out, okay, that these teams that are left are all good. And they could beat anyone. Anyone could beat anyone from here on out. So if you want to find reasons why the Buffalo Bills could lose this game, absolutely. Linebackers 5 and 6, not good. Special teams for Buffalo, shaky. Patrick Mahomes and Isaiah Pacheco, and Travis Kelce. The skill position players aren't what they used to be in Kansas City, but they're still dangerous. It's kind of an interesting I take a step back here, look at, from the human psychology standpoint, how people are getting worked up one way or another about this game.
Yeah, we'll make our predictions tomorrow. I'll be on CMF tomorrow morning in the break room with Tommy and Duffy and Kimmy and Ryan. We'll share my thoughts with some over-unders and final prediction tomorrow morning. And then, of course, tomorrow afternoon we'll discuss more in depth. Gino, your prediction, my prediction, and we'll get into it with Joe Marino. We'll get into it with Alex Gold. That's all tomorrow afternoon. From 3 until 6. Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub making their appearance there at Three Heads Brewing on Atlantic Avenue from 3 until 6. That's in the neighborhood of the arts. Can't wait to see you tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, the Good Smoke Barbecue, that tops it right off, too.
Yeah,
everything's coming together.
Gino called dibs on the moink balls already. We'll just put that tray right next to Gino's set up there. So in between breaks, just kind of dip over and grab one.
Yeah, thanks to Brian and them for helping out. And if you haven't, you're like, hey, I got to get over to Good Smoke. Okay, you know what? We're going to let you sample it tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Yeah, is that enough reason for you to come out?
Yeah, that'll be a good time. And we should also note, as many of our regulars have, the Buffalo Bills are undefeated in weekends where we do a Friday Football Talk Live. Streak ain't going to end this week, folks. Can't end this week. Not going to happen. Got to feel good going into this game. What's the outlook right now in Buffalo? What do we know about the weather? I know that the snow was the warning, the lake effect snow warning was supposed to continue till 7 o'clock tonight. Have we heard anything about this weekend?
I saw, just from today, I saw somebody from Channel 4 put up a drone over the stadium, like, oh my gosh. It's like it's all over again. Like, okay, and I'm paying attention to this because my daughter's driving back to Fredonia. Like, all right, Saturday, you should be okay Saturday. Like, today was just a mess out there. And, dude, I feel... Look, I'm going to sound like old man here. Do you really want to go to this game tonight?
Yes.
No, dude, they're two losing teams.
I don't care.
Yes, we carry Buffalo Sabres hockey.
Yeah,
but
I know. I call them the apathetic Sabres. It's my Blackhawks, man. I mean, I get when I get the opportunity to go to see the Blackhawks and the Sabres, I'm going to take that opportunity. Yeah.
It's going to be, I wouldn't say a half-empty arena. I'm going to say mostly empty arena tonight.
Fine. Yeah, that's good. More seats. Not that my seats were bad in the first place. I don't take any of it for granted. But less people, less traffic, less lines, shorter lines.
No, dude. Like, I'm hoping that you don't get out there because I'm reading just like from people we trust that the roads in Buffalo right now are not good.
Yeah, right now it's 5 o'clock. By the time I get there, everything will be cool, smooth sailing. Yeah. We're equipped. We can handle it. Well, I hope we're equipped. When are they making the call for shovelers at Highmark Stadium? Is that happening tomorrow?
It's got to be tomorrow.
It's got to be coming up soon, right?
Or, and so many people have pointed this out. Why wouldn't you just call up, hey, Green Bay Packers, you don't have a home game? Do you think we can rent those special snow blowers?
What do they have? They have a special tool?
Yeah, you haven't seen this? Like, Arians made these very narrow snow blowers that you can go right down an aisle or a row. And that would be kind of the way to kind of do it.
That feels too cute for what we're dealing with here. Narrow snowblowers. What is it, like one of those, like a brush that like rotates and it doesn't really do anything when you're talking about this amount of snow?
It seems to work from the videos I saw at Lambeau, yeah.
I'd be curious about that. The call is coming, though. I mean, you're right. I think we said this earlier in the week. It's just invest in some tarps or something to cover up the seats when you know you're going to get blasted.
Well, new stadium goes up, what are they saying, 60 to 70% will be covered, so it'll alleviate when that finally happens. So we got, 2 more seasons
It'll
to do
alleviate some, but not all of it. And by the way, I mean, depending on which way the wind is blowing, it's going to get everywhere.
Part of me wants to watch Taylor Swift just tromp through the snow this week, though.
I've been letting a Taylor Swift rant stew all week.
Ooh, is this kind of?
It's just been stewing, just knowing that she's coming to Buffalo, just knowing everything that's going to come with that.
It's another reason. If we haven't given you enough ammo to come out to Three Heads tomorrow, the story Mike Danger can tell you off air that we can't tell on air?
Yeah, I'll tell you about Taylor Swift. I'll tell you about the kind of person she is, the kind of person she surrounds herself with, and her team and her handlers. I can tell you all about them. But I've just been stewing. Just stewing. Like, oh, look who's coming to town.
Wouldn't that be great, though? Like, wait a second. This isn't the way it's supposed to go. Or will she be, oh, this is good. I get to spend more time with him.
Oh, God. Just give her the Takeo Spikes treatment. Throw her in the corner suite where you can't see the field. Fog up the windows. You know what? Screw all of that. Force her to sit. Force her to sit with the peasants in the peasantry. Let her sit.
Yes.
Let her sit in the 300 level. Give her the cheap seats.
There's only two ways she's getting into the stadium. One is through the players' tunnel, where the elevator literally is right next to the Bills' locker room. So, and all the cameras, everybody would be down there. You know how you always see, like on the NFL Network or ESPN, hey, and here's Josh Allen walking into the stadium. That's the only way. There is not a tunnel that goes around the concourse. Like the Bills, correct me if I'm wrong, they might be the last team in the league where both teams go up the same tunnel.
Are we planning any insults for Taylor Swift, or is that you can't insult Taylor Swift, right? That's like insulting royalty.
Well, I'm afraid this, and I said this yesterday.
Can we be polite hecklers?
How, like you using the Hunter Pence? Taylor, I don't find your music to be pleasurable.
Yeah, just like your songwriting is mediocre. You know, I find your presentation to be lackluster. Just, I don't know, just anything that might be, it's an insult, but it's polite. Mm-hmm. It's not crude. It's not rude. It goes beyond you suck. Get out of here.
Yeah.
We hate you and your boyfriend.
Don't throw snowballs at Taylor Swift's suite.
No, don't do that.
Well,
any way you slice it, she's going to leave Buffalo saying, I'm never coming back to Buffalo again, right? I mean, like, all she needs to really see is how much snow we have. She's not used to that.
I bet you she doesn't come. I bet you boyfriend says no, those fans there. How do I get like that's her advance.
He uses the fans as the excuse to tell her to not. No, you don't understand. These guys are a different breed. You don't want to be in Buffalo.
No, because she would be miserable, win or lose. Like this would not be fun for her status there.
No.
And she, like, if it's not the tunnel, the players' tunnel, you mean to tell me that she's going to go through, like, with actual fans? Like, we're going to be like, oh my gosh, look who it is.
Yeah. I'm sure she won't draw any attention to herself either. She'll just be completely inconspicuous, incognito. You won't even know that she's there. Yeah, that's going to be a scene. That alone is going to be a scene. If she doesn't come, then yeah, crisis averted. You don't have to worry about anything if you're Taylor Swift. I just have a feeling if she were to come, if she is going to come, it's not going to be a great afternoon for her. She's not going to enjoy herself. I don't think her short stay in Buffalo is going to be one that she enjoys. We'll have the game for you here on the Fan. Rochester. Our pregame coverage Sunday afternoon gets underway at 2 o'clock. Sabres tonight, 7 o'clock, by the way. Yes, two bad teams. Sabres mixing it up. Line combinations, defensive pairings, everything is kind of like being thrown against the wall.
Which side? Are you on camera side or is your back to the camera? Do you know where you're sitting?
What am I in 103?
Because I'm wondering if tonight I'm going to be able to pick you out.
I'm either 101 or 103. You'll be able to pick me out. I'll be wearing my Blackhawks hat.
Do you catch flack?
No, usually when in Blackhawk games that I've gone to in Buffalo in the past, there's plenty of Blackhawk fans in attendance.
Okay. Like my father-in-law, I never told you this story. He's a Bruins fan. And you have to respect that generation, meaning come across a Browns fan, a Giants fan, a Bruins fan, anything. You go pre-1960, the Bills didn't exist. You go pre-1970, the Sabres didn't exist. So I can appreciate anybody who was stuck with their team and not crossed over. So we went to holiday week one year, like Bruins and Sabres, and my father, who was it? Marchand scores. Yeah, he gets up and goes. Guy turns around and gives him the finger. I'm like, really? I'm like, okay, whatever. No problem.
Finger I can handle. Like, I can handle that. I'm not like an obnoxious fan. I'm not going to scream and yell and none of that. I mean, like, I pretty much keep to myself. I don't go looking for that kind of conflict. But if the Hawks score and I stand up and somebody were to turn around and give me the finger, I don't know why okay.
You're like, okay, yep.
You got me there.
Yep.
Wow. Thanks, pal.
Well, at least you could say, "Yep, you know what? We're great too, just like you."
Yeah, I'm bringing my daughter as well. She, that's my human shield. Generally, I think people will be a little bit more polite when you're in the presence of a young woman, and she's excited to go. When I brought it up to her, I don't know what to wear. Here we go. Yeah, you are your mom's daughter. God bless. Let's go.
Danger. Sometimes I think that this show actually balances everything out. Cause you go home, it's 1 on 3. Well, actually 1.5 on 3 because you got Walter on
Walter's
your side.
Always on my side.
Walter's on your side,
that's my buddy. Walter the dog is my buddy. Yeah, no, it does balance it. And thank you for being my therapy session here for a little bit. Gonna have a good time tonight. I'm not worried about the weather. Gonna skate out right when we close up shop.
Kyle's birthday tonight. He's 18, so
that's big, dude.
What we do is we allow them to choose where they're going to dinner, and I will not mention this place because
he went chain restaurant, didn't he?
Yeah.
I get it. It takes a second for them to break out of that routine, the chain restaurant routine, but that's what part of being a kid is. I think when you're a kid, you go to these chain restaurants and you just think that they're so over the top and everything tastes better than anything you've ever eaten. And you don't really realize the gigantic world that exists out there, different things that you can try.
Right. So the other thing too is, hey, more often than not for reservations, you have to do it online. No, as soon as it's over, no, I don't want to be part of your rewards program. No, opt out. It's a little annoying.
I remember being a teenager and going to dinner one time. We were in Chicago visiting family, and we all went to a restaurant it was a chain restaurant. I didn't realize it was a chain restaurant. It was called Cattle Company. Do you remember a chain restaurant called Stuart Anderson's Cattle Company?
Nope.
It was they specialized in steaks, right? And you go in and it was dimly lit and it had this cool atmosphere, and the steak was the best thing I'd ever eaten. The shrimp cocktail was the best thing I thought this place was the absolute best restaurant on planet Earth. This is the best thing I had ever eaten. And then fast forward another 10 years and I'm my early to mid 20s, and there was one in Minneapolis. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even realize that this is a chip, but there's one in Minneapolis. I gotta go. It was dog food. It was terrible. I'm like, oh, well, that's your palate refine. You're getting out of your yummy phase, right? Kyle's still in his yummy phase. He's 18. Let him enjoy his yumminess, and then eventually he'll develop a palate and be like, oh, I don't really want to go to the chain restaurant anymore.
Multiple locations. I don't know if I miss the Scotch and sirloin.
That was in Henrietta, right?
That was it's still vacant there.
Oh, wow.
But they had locations in Syracuse and Buffalo. I don't know why they closed the one here. It was just doing so well. I figured somebody would go in there.
When did that shut down? I feel like that was there.
That was 10 years ago it did.
Okay. I remember that being there, and maybe I had a meal there. The local place that shut down that I remember going to a lot that was very secretly a really good spot? Grinnell's.
Oh, I know that's gone too.
Yeah,
that was
a good spot. It was a good spot. It still tastes the potato, layonnaise potato. Oh, so good. Anyways, so happy birthday to Kyle. We're not calling him Lincecum anymore, right? He got the haircut.
He needs to work. You got to kind of clean up your act. So growing up,
18. Well, happy birthday to Kyle. I've got the Blackhawks and Sabres tonight. You've got Kyle in your chain restaurant. We are just setting up nicely for a memorable weekend. Tomorrow afternoon is going to be awesome.
It's going to be fantastic tomorrow. This is the one we've been kind of working toward all year. Again, 3 to 6 will be out there, Danger and I, for at Three Heads, Atlantic Avenue. I'm trying to think what Sunday morning will be like if the unexpected happens on Saturday. Meaning, well, you could say it's not unexpected. Look at Lamar Jackson's playoff history. What if Lamar crumbles again? You look at the running backs, Danger. Dalvin Cook is going to be active for this game? Okay. There are reasons to think that Houston could go in there, and maybe they're just kind of loosey-goosey, and they let it rip, and they're making big plays, and Lamar is making mistakes. What would the world look like on Sunday morning? Would there be more pressure in Buffalo? Would everybody have that doomy, gloomy feeling like, oh my gosh, it's all setting up and we're going to blow it?
I feel like they have the most pressure out of all of the 8 teams remaining, that the Bills are carrying the most pressure with how this is set up for them. The idea that you're hosting the Chiefs, that this is what you wanted, now you've got it. You've got to get over on them to get to where you ultimately want to go. And you got to do it in a way that is a little it's out of the ordinary, meaning you're going to have backups on defense, and you need Josh Allen to not turn the ball over. You need Josh Allen to have another good playoff Josh game, right? Josh in the playoffs, for the most part, has been pretty spectacular, and you need him to continue to play at that high level while also monitoring what's going on in the defensive side of the ball. The more I think about it, really the health of that front four, that defensive line, is so critical, and thank God we're not talking about any of those players being injured. If we were talking about an Ed Oliver injury, a Greg Rousseau injury, I know Leonard Floyd was on the injury report. I think he returned to practice today. He got, I want to say he got veterans rest yesterday.
Yeah.
Knowing that these guys are healthy and that you've still got that steady rotation up front with that front four, and I know Eric Washington spent some time talking about the emphasis on takeaways. And yeah, if you can affect Patrick Mahomes, if you can affect that Kansas City run game with that front four, I'm less concerned about some of the injuries you have on the back end of that defense.
Front four, who played a lot, meaningful minutes last time? Number 40. Mm-hmm. He did have a pressure. I'm like, okay, that's a positive. You forced Mason Rudolph to step up in the pocket. So I guess the Bills are going to be playing Von Miller from here on out.
That's fine. I mean, I don't think he's a difference maker, but he can still affect plays, I suppose. It's just not going to show up on the stat sheet. And if you want somebody out, I mean, at this point, I'd rather see Epineza. I'd rather see Rousseau. Obviously, I'd rather see Leonard Floyd. They've all been better. Could you say Kingsley Jonathan is better right now than Von Miller? Yeah, you could, but Von Miller's going to get those reps. And that's Shaq Lawson. I'd rather see Shaq Lawson, to be honest. Mm-hmm. I think Shaq Lawson can be more effective. Well, it'll be exciting. And you're right. It starts with that game on Saturday, and whether or not the Ravens can handle their business. The pressure mounts if the Ravens choke and Houston wins, and the fate of the AFC Championship rests on the Bills either hosting or ending their season. Hosting the AFC Championship game or go home. Whew. I don't know if they've had that kind of pressure on them. This is probably the biggest Bills game in the last 20 years.
More than 20. Because if you go 20, 2004, like the game where they tried to get in against the Steelers? I go back to the last time they played the Chiefs. The time I met O.J. Simpson. The time where, that was the last game where the Chiefs came here in the postseason. I'm not baiting you to play it.
What? I mean, don't give me a reason. I don't need
OJ took a beer from me.
Got it, Juice. When Chris and I broke up, the Juice was there for me every night. It's like he's not really the Juice anymore. We gotta get you dressed, Juice. Juice, I will. Juice. Come on, Juice. Juice, it's AC. Juice! AC's here! Juice, I heard Juice, it's on every channel. You know I feel the same, Juice. You're gonna tell them yourself, Juice. Juice, your whole family's here, Juice. She's on the house phone waiting to talk to you, Juice. Juice. Okay, Juice? Okay, Juice, we're good to go. You're home, Juice. You know Uncle Juice, and your Uncle Juice... Your Uncle Juice is a good man.
Yeah. He's never going to stop being the Juice.
It could explain a lot, Juice. Just hear him out, Juice. He's right, Juice. Listen, Juice. Hey, Juice, this is your life. Juice, please, Juice. Juice, we need an answer.
He's never going to stop being the Juice. You don't have to give me a reason to play every instance of David Schwimmer as Robert Kardashian saying the word juice in The People versus O.J. Simpson.
It's not David Schwimmer. That's Ross. Ross. Or does he show up?
O.J. Simpson?
He's still he's got if you, unfortunately I went to his Twitter feed.
Why would you do that to yourself?
There's a lot of Bills paraphernalia, a lot of Bills takes he's got on there.
Sure.
Like I'm sure he wants a little spotlight.
I don't know that O.J. Simpson will be there. Fo-J Simpson may be there. The guy that looks like O.J. Simpson that you see from time to time at a Bills game. I'd be on the lookout for Fo-J Simpson. I'm not saying O.J. is going to be there. No, I'm not taking that bet.
I'd say no too. Like at this point, just be at home like most people his age in Florida.
Just keep looking for the killer, man. The search has never ended. Let's go. Keep looking tirelessly. Don't ever stop. Don't rest. We got to get to a round of shots next.
Yeah, things we can talk about here in the sports bar is we have the Amerks playing really well. Jessica Pegula, quick out. There's tennis going on. Ooh, a lawsuit surrounding Florida State. We'll get to that. And look, Travis Kelce, all right, he's the enemy this week, but you have to like Jason Kelce a little bit. So we'll give you Jason Kelce a couple stories here.
All right, we got last call coming up as well. If you want to get in before we close up shop, our number is 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326. The Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman Line. Best barbecue in town? That's easy. It's Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub in East Rochester. You can sample some tomorrow at Three Heads when we do Friday Football Talk live from 3 to 6. Award-winning barbecue for lunch, for dinner, and the perfect choice to cater your next party. Visit goodsmokebarbecue.com for the catering menu and order form. Check out their daily and weekly specials online or Facebook, like the Super Slider Lunch Combo Deal, only $9.99. Amazing food, amazing price, great beer selection at Good Smoke as well. Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, modern barbecue experts, 135 West Commercial Street, East Rochester, goodsmokebbq.com.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger. Sports Update.
Hockey tonight in Buffalo, postponed from last night. Chicago is the opponent. Our coverage will begin at 7 o'clock here in the Fan Rochester. No travel ban today in Buffalo, which meant everybody could get to practice, but not everybody did practice. Not practicing today. Taylor Rapp, Christian Benford, Terrell Bernard, Balin Spector, and Gabe Davis. Taron Johnson was working out in the red non-contact jersey as he remains in concussion protocol. Now, on the other side of the ball, offensive coordinator Joe Brady is ready for going up against Chiefs defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo.
He's been at the top for a while, right? And he does such a great job of combining scheme with the skill set that he has, right? He doesn't just run these plays just because this is the defense I've been running for years. He does such a good job of putting his players in position to have success.
Bills Chiefs, our pregame coverage Sunday will begin at 2 p.m. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, the Fan Rochester.
The best local sports talk in the Flower City. One Bills Live in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. Weekday afternoons on The Fan, Rochester.
He's just a hungry rink rat guy. So, whether he's playing or not, it doesn't change his routine or his day, which he attacks the day, wanting more information, more reps, more challenges. He hasn't played in a bit, but he's certainly not going to be rusty by any means. And he's probably going to be even better because like I said, he attacks it. He wants guys to shoot pucks on him. He wants guys to challenge him. So it's probably a good break for him.
Sabres head coach Don Granato on the lack of Dylan Cousins in the lineup tonight. Rink rat. Haven't heard that in a while. It's time for a round of shots in the sports bar.
It was back in January 2022. Well, the Sabres played actually a regular season game in an arena that was nearly empty. There was a travel ban. Danger, I don't remember this for the life of me. Wondering why that didn't happen last night. They could have done that, the game between Buffalo and Chicago. After all, it was on national television. It was scheduled on TNT. Well, TNT didn't wait around. They're not adjusting their schedule. Tonight is on MSG TV side. Of course, we'll have it for you here on the Fan Rochester. I guess it was just as well the country was spared from seeing that matchup.
Yeah, not really an attractive matchup. Two pretty bad teams. The Hawks without Connor Bedard. I'm a glutton for punishment. I just want to see my guys out there.
Look, you got to be a fan. You got to be with in the bad times and the good. They say.
That's right.
Love the headline: Amherst scare off Phantoms 6-0. Brandon Byro scoring just 91 seconds into the game. Eric Comrie flawless, 32 saves. Lucas Rushek picking up an assist, extending his point streak now to 11, which is currently the longest point streak active in the AHL. Currently, the Amherst are in 4th place of the North. Only 6 points out of second, but only 4 points out of last. Amherst at Utica tomorrow night.
Got to get that one on the road against Utica. That's an encouraging win. And Comrie with the shutout there. I mean, let's not lose sight of the fact that that's a guy that's, he's an NHL goalie that's going to finish the season here in the AHL. I like Comrie between the pipes and what that means for this team.
He's going to be here unless another team says, hey, we need a goalie, would the Sabres flip Eric? I think you would have to, just for his benefit. But can you imagine if we get to April and he's still here?
Yeah, I think he will be here. And it's not too different than what you had last year with Malcolm Subban. I mean, he's a guy that's played plenty of NHL games.
Oh, Comrie is like, he was really, really a sought-after piece there. And I want to say he's getting paid more too.
Yeah.
Jessica Pegula is out at the Australian Open. Clara Burel, and never heard of her. She upset Pegula in the second round, 6-4, 6-2. Burel is a 22-year-old from France. It's the first time she's advanced to the third round in a major. ACC is striking back at Florida State. For the past year, Florida State, as you know, have been kicking and screaming about leaving the conference. Well, the ACC is now suing the school.
Sue who?
Suing Florida State.
Suing everybody.
The filing includes 6 claims, including FSU breaching its contract with the ACC.
And they broke my glasses.
Breaching confidentiality and the media rights agreement, and breaching fiduciary obligations and obligations of good faith.
Yes. You broke the fiduciary obligations, and you were very rude to me when I called on the phone. And the obligations of good faith, you threw me down the stairs. I lost my shoes. And I broke my glasses and I fell on my ass pipe. Oh.
Well, the ACC, I'm not sure if they're suing here for punitive damages.
Punitive damages, I'm going to sue the ACC, Mike Norvell. I'm going to sue Bill Belichick. I'm going to sue everybody.
What does Bill Belichick have to do?
He's in Atlanta. He's going to go in Atlanta, and I know he's there, and he's behind all of this. I'm going to sue him for punitive damages.
Do you sue John
Dabo
Wildhack?
Sweeney, John Wildhack, everybody. I'm suing everybody. John Wildhack, he was so rude to me on the phone. He was mean. He cursed me out. I cried. I took my glasses off. They were fogging up. I took them off, and I broke my glasses when I fell down the stairs because of John Wildhack. I'm suing everybody. Punitive damages.
Oh, finally, what is next for Jason Kelce? Well, you figure it's going to work out for him. The 35-year-old retiring from the Eagles, next stop the Hall of Fame. But he did something nice for someone this week. He dropped off a signed jersey for his favorite McDonald's employee. Apparently, that's a routine of his. Want another Kelce story? On his podcast, he shared that during every tush push this year, he would scream, F my life.
Yeah.
Quote, man, all the weight and everything lying on top of you. It's a grueling play. If you do it right, you're at the bottom.
Everybody wonders why we're so mean. Everybody wonders why the Philadelphia Eagles aren't the nicest fans. If I don't eat breakfast, I'm
Jason Kelce's a legend. Jason Kelce will go down. I mean, is there a better center, top of your mind, going into Canton? Is there a player at center that you could be like, oh, yeah, best? Webster?
Otto.
Right, Mike Webster from the Steelers?
Webster from the Steelers, Otto from the Raiders. Like, of recent time, Saturday he was good, but is not that level.
Really appreciated his job as a head coach, too. I thought Jeff Saturday was a fantastic head coach. That one win was awesome.
Love to see it. No update, by the way, on Jim Irsay.
I just think Kelce is fantastic. The personality, everything that goes with Jason Kelce, champion, Hall of Famer, and I love that story as well. When you watch that play, it does look really, really uncomfortable. It looks really. I'm worried about the Bills version of it. At some point, you got to go. You got to do something other than left every time.
Yeah.
It's very predictable. I know it's probably like, well, you can't stop us, so we're not. But we've come pretty close there. There's been some instances where it's like, no, that ain't working.
You got to put something on film where you're not doing that. Like at some point, like, okay, you're going to pull it out and then tight end sneaking out or something like that. It would be gutsy, but you do it like on a 3rd and 1.
Why are we not going right? Are we not as confident in Morse's ability to block right and Osiris Torrance's ability to get low? I don't know, but it always goes left, and I'm worried that if you keep doing that, I know it's a predictable play. You know what the outcome is, but Josh is always going left. He's always leaning left on that play. I don't know.
Well, it's telling too that the Eagles season where they were living off that, the Bucs put an end to that Sunday night.
It was the only thing that was working for them down the stretch. I mean, you could make the argument that on offense, maybe you should just call the tush push everybody because it's the only thing that was working. Everything was going against Philadelphia. They just absolutely fell apart down the stretch. But yeah, Kelce's a legend. He's a Hall of Famer, and I'd be screaming F my life too because that is a brutal, brutal play. And if he doesn't get his breakfast, he's pissed off. So.
There's another story here, too. I don't even know how this is possible. The University of Miami confirming that their tight end Cam McCormick will be coming back for another season, 2024.
How many years of eligibility?
Number near and dear to our heart.
Get out of here.
I'm not kidding you.
Get out of here. The dude's played 9 years?
9 times.
He began his career in Oregon in 2016. Missed significant parts of the first 4 seasons due to injury, along with a redshirt year. And then the COVID year of 2020 allowed him to petition the NCAA for an unprecedented 9th season eligibility. Okay, this is what I would say. Okay. Like, what are you doing with your life? You have been in college now for 9 years.
Bo Nix thinks you've outstayed your welcome. Chris Winkie thinks that this is a little aggressive. 9 years of eligibility.
9 times. Jim Belushi's character.
But they denied
John Belushi.
They denied Tua's brother a sixth year. Wow. That's insane.
So, like, he puts out this thing. He's calling it the In Pursuit of Excellence. Has no goal. Last ride 2024. You know, in this day and age of NIL, like...
Go get him, killer.
Yeah, go get him.
Go get him.
9...
You know what? Stay in college. You're going to make more money in college than you would if you were trying to go pro. So, go ahead. Play it out, man. That's insane. I love that. All right, we're going to get the last call next at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326. We have a very special afternoon plan for you tomorrow. We'll tell you all about that next as well here in the Sports Bar. After an incredible NFL Super Wildcard weekend, we are on to the divisional round. It's Mike Danger for FanDuel Sportsbook, the official partner of 95.7 The Fan. For the 8 remaining teams, it is win or go home. But you'll always have a spot in the playoffs with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a W, and we had Kate Constable on with us last hour to share some of her favorite plays. We advise you to go check that out in the free-to-download Odyssey app or with Odyssey Rewind when you search out the Fan Rochester. If you want to follow Kate's picks, my picks, you can go to FanDuel right now. New customers get started with $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com/Mike to join today. That's FanDuel.com/Mike, M-I-K-E. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 plus and physically present in New York. First online real money wager, only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
You're listening to the Sports And AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
He's as good as a football player in this game. He's in the elites of the elites. They do such a good job of moving around. He's in one-on-one situations, and when he's not in one-on-one situations, he's dominant in the run game and the pass game, and you got to be aware of him on every single play. He does such a good job because he can rush inside, and then they put him outside on a tackle, and he's like an elite defensive end with it, and so he makes life so much harder on us, on anybody game planning, because you got to be aware of him at any given time. And then on top of that, with everything else that comes with the defense.
That's Bills interim offensive coordinator, Joe Brady, talking about Chiefs defensive tackle Chris Jones. Could be a problem on Sunday evening.
Did you see this? And I know how much of a fan LeBron is, but like if you're going, it works both ways. Like most media people, you're respectful of the athlete's time, but the athlete has to be respectful of the media's time. Why give a media session if your chief focus is just watching your son, which LeBron was last night, giving his post-game presser?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with LeBron wanting to watch his son. Like any dad would want to watch their kid play, especially given everything that Bronny has been through over the course of the last couple of years. But it's just it just added to the list of things about LeBron. Like he's his own cat, man. He's a different animal.
He has stayed too long. The stepping off point would have been a few years ago.
Dare you? How dare you? You better appreciate him because he's not going to be playing in the NBA forever. Okay? I don't know that you truly appreciate just what LeBron James means.
Oh, no, he's
to the
hanging
sport of
on until
basketball.
Bronny gets there and they can play together wherever that may be.
I just love the guy that needs to be appreciated. You better appreciate me.
You will appreciate
You
me.
will appreciate me. Don't worry, ESPN will, if that team finds themselves in the postseason like they did last year, ESPN will make it all about LeBron, and it'll be the LeBron appreciation campaign all over again, where I'm over here wondering, why? I mean, why the thirst? Why do we need to appreciate him more when, at worst, he is the second best player to ever play the game?
Right now, the Lakers, 500, they're 10th place of the West.
Mm-hmm.
So they're a playing team.
Yeah.
Good. Yay.
Yeah. But don't worry, that banner for the in-season tournament looks great in the gym. It's awesome. That and the fake bubble banner. Those two are awesome.
Like the ring is one of those candy rings.
That's right.
Like,
it's a ring pop. It's not a real championship ring. Did I hear you say correctly that the call for snow shovelers?
Yeah,
has
it
come
happened.
out?
It happened 5 minutes ago. So the Bills are putting the call out tomorrow. Same deal, as you know. And here's the point: like, Danger, you shoveled, I've shoveled. Like, could you really put in an honest 4-hour shift of shoveling? Like after an hour, you're shot. Like honestly, 4 hours of doing that for $80.
I'm trying to think of how long I think the longest I've stayed outside, like chipping away at ice in the driveway and, really getting after trying to clean it as much as possible. Maybe 2 hours, maybe half that time. But I don't remember being shot. I just remember being like, all right, this is enough. Enough is enough. This is futile. I can't keep chipping away at the same piece of ice. It's not going anywhere. It's just going to be here. Look, there are some guys that are just equipped for it, man. You're going to be bundled up, and this is what you look forward to. This time of year makes you money, right? It's work, but it makes you money, and you want to get after it. Hey, go do it, man. And
it's getting to the point where do you put it all? There's only so many places you can put this. Yeah,
that's right. I don't know. Here's what I know. It'll look fine on TV, but if you're going to the game, it's probably still going to be an issue, right? You're probably going to be walking in on snow-packed ice.
Or at the very least, you're going to have issues with parking. Those satellite lots are done.
Oh, my God, forget it. The snowdrifts right now, the piles of snow are up as high as the street signs.
And be advised, they're like, well, we have the shuttle over here in McKinley Mall. I've talked to people that it wasn't executed properly. No.
Shocking. You're kidding me. All right, tomorrow, very special afternoon in the sports bar as we take the show live to Three Heads Brewing on Atlantic Avenue. Another Friday Football Talk Live, the playoff edition. It is Chiefs week.
Yeah.
And because it's a special occasion, our friends from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub will be bringing by some barbecue as well for us to try out. That's tomorrow starting at 3 o'clock. We'll be there until 6. Joe Marino from the Locked On Bills podcast will be joining us at 3:25. We'll talk some Buffalo Bills. We'll talk some Kansas City Chiefs with Alex Gold from 610 Sports in Kansas City, our Odyssey Sports sister station. He'll join us at 4:25, and sandwiched in there, we'll talk to Rochester Nighthawk Taylor Jensen right around 4 o'clock. Live from Three Heads Brewing on Atlantic Avenue in the neighborhood of the arts. Friday Football Talk Live with the Sports Bar, Danger and Battaglia, 3 until 6. We would love to see you out there. It would really be a great way to start your sports weekend.
We can share a cold one and maybe a win or two.
JR Sport Brief next on The Fan.
You're listening to the Sports Bar.